Audrey. Chapter 1. Ningxuan, signed on the 1st of next month. P.S. Previously. My brain was eaten by zombies, King Zhao's only alt account. Little 6, it's time to awaken your spirit. Early in the morning, just as dawn was breaking, the village chief, Old Tom, called Little 6 to awaken his spirit. Little 6 forced his sleepy eyes open, rubbed them, and made himself recover his senses as quickly as possible. He knew very well in his heart that if he didn't get up obediently now, he would have to wait until next year to awaken his spirit. Little 6's full name was Ningxuan. Such a nice name was not something his parents could have come up with, and he didn't have parents anyway. This was his name from his previous life, when he gave himself. Yes, he was not from this world. He was a transmigrator. It was only because one of King Zhao's novels was a eunuch. Another was reported and cut short, and the last one was even reported and banned, leading to 3 consecutive failures. He was so angry that he couldn't catch his breath and died suddenly on the spot. He was reincarnated on the Douluo Continent and became an orphan. Ningxuan was called Little 6, not because he was the 6th child in his family. In fact, his parents only had him as a child. The reason he was called Little 6 was entirely because Ningxuan was the 6th child Old Tom adopted. Before him, there were 5 older brothers and sisters. And the nickname, Little 6, naturally fell to Ningxuan. This was nothing. Other children in the village were constantly Khalid silly girl, big head, and so on. There were even those called Urguzi. Compared to them, Little 6 was already much better. Therefore, Ningxuan was not averse to this nickname. Ningxuan's appearance was quite good. Although his skin was dark from often going up the mountain to gather firewood and helping the old village chief with farm work, his facial features were extremely well-defined, making him one of the few handsome men in the village. At first, he also fantasized about becoming a powerful spirit master, then lifting his family out of poverty and living a good life. Finally, marrying a beautiful, wealthy woman and even becoming a god. But as he grew up, he was quickly defeated by reality. He was an orphan from birth, never even seeing his parents' faces. If not for Old Tom adopting him and the villagers helping him, he would have starved to death long ago. However, deep in his heart, he had a dream. That was to leave this small village and see the world outside. Of course, Ningxuan never mentioned this idea to anyone else. Otherwise, it would surely make the villagers feel astonished. Because this was a world with a solidified class structure ruled by spirit masters and nobles. To leave this small village, one must possess spirit power after awakening their spirit. However, apart from a spirit emperor who emerged 100 years ago, no one in the village had ever awakened innate spirit power again. At this moment, Ningxuan had recovered his senses. He quickly got up and asked, "Grandpa Tom, has the Grandmaster from Spirit Hall arrived so early? I remember he seemed to come in the afternoon last year." "This year is different. You are the only child of age in the village, and we don't want to trouble Grandmaster Professor Sue to make a special trip. So we made an appointment with old Jack from the neighboring village to take you to their village to awaken your spirit together." Old Tom looked like a thin old man with a goatee, childless, and his life was a bit tight because he adopted 6 children. However, Ningxuan secretly resolved in his heart that he must awaken his spirit power, become a powerful spirit master, then lift the village out of poverty. Let Old Tom live a good life, finally marry a beautiful, wealthy woman, and even become a god, reaching the peak of his life. Half an hour later, when Ningxuan, led by Old Tom, arrived under the scorching sun at the Spirit Hall in the center of the neighboring Saint Spirit Village, the children of Saint Spirit Village, who were of age, had already gone in to awaken their spirits. Only a tall, thin, but spirited and neatly dressed old man was waiting anxiously outside. Seeing the old man and the young boy approaching, he quickly came forward and said, "You old geezer, why are you so late? Grandmaster Professor Su has already been inside for a while." The Spirit Hall in St. Spirit Village, though called Spirit Hall, was actually just a wooden hut with a Spirit Hall symbol. The Spirit Hall in Emperor Soul Village was not much different. Hearing this, Old Tom dared not delay and quickly stepped forward to knock on the door, respectfully saying, "Grandmaster Professor Su, I've brought the child." "Is that Old Tom? Since you're here, let him in." A young man's voice came from inside the wooden hut. Old Tom nodded, then motioned for Ning Chuan to enter. Ning Chuan stepped forward, gently pushed open the wooden hut door, and walked inside. Besides the 8 children of St. Spirit Village who were awakening their spirits this time, there was also a young man who looked to be in his 20s, dressed in white martial attire. This person had sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, a rather handsome appearance, and his clothes bore the Spirit Hall symbol. Seeing Ning Chuan enter, he said nothing but merely motioned for him to stand aside. He himself had already completed spirit possession, transforming into a humanoid gray wolf, and was currently awakening the spirit of the last child. "Is this the single dog spirit?" Ning Chuan looked on curiously. Innately full spirit power, but unfortunately, another useless spirit. He had awakened spirits for 7 children in a row before, and none had spirit power. Now, he finally awakened one with spirit power, and it was even the legendary innate full spirit power. Yet it was the useless spirit, blue-silver grass. Professor Su was speechless. But Ning Chuan's eyes narrowed slightly, because this last spirit child was not simple. Besides the blue-silver grass in his right hand, his left hand was placed behind his back, his fist tightly clenched, as if something was being suppressed. "Tang San." Ning Chuan first felt a cold laugh in his heart, followed by a sense of helplessness. As a fan of King Jiao, he was naturally a staunch anti-Tang faction, and had once fantasized about abusing Tang San and dealing with Yu Xiaogang, like the protagonists in King Jiao's novels. But he was just an ordinary person. Whether he could even awaken spirit power was a question, so how could he accomplish such great feats? Moreover, he never hated Tang San. He just hated that he couldn't become a cheat like Tang San. If his talent was high enough, he wouldn't mind learning from the protagonists of King Jiao's fanfiction. But if he had no spirit power, then he would rather be an ordinary person, find a way to earn some money, and become a wealthy old man. "All right, child, come over." At Professor Su's signal, Ning Chuan walked into the awakening formation composed of 6 black awakening stones. As Professor Su infused spirit power, his whole body was enveloped by a golden, faintly red light shield. Immediately after, he felt as if his entire being was in a warm world, an indescribable comfort. Warm energy permeated his body. Ning Chuan vaguely felt as if something inside him had shattered, and then a warm current, which had not existed before, appeared within his body. This warm current was very faint, but it was truly present and did not disappear. Finally, it surged into his palm along with the warm energy. Professor Su's eyes immediately lit up. Before this, he had already visited 6 villages, but no one had awakened spirit power. However, in that golden light, the golden light spots that appeared this time, though not as many as Tang San's, were more than the previous 7 children combined. He vaguely felt that it seemed to be a good spirit chapter too. Green Bamboo Be Cloud's sword. If he could be brought into the Spirit Hall, he would gain huge benefits, and at the very least, a promotion would be within reach. And the result did not disappoint Professor Su. Ning Chuan subconsciously raised his right hand, seeing a small, emerald green sword that felt familiar to him. It was the azure bamboo be-cloud sword, the magical artifact of old Devil Han, the progenitor of Cultivation novels in his previous life. It was entirely emerald green, its body resembling a straight, tapering lightning bamboo, with exquisitely ornate and strange golden runes carved on its blade and hilt. Professor Su was greatly astonished. It's actually a sword spirit. He had never seen such a magnificent tool spirit before. Tang San also cast a curious gaze, a purple light flashing in his eyes. It was his first time encountering something like a spirit, so it was impossible for him not to be interested. However, under the observation of his purple demon eye, he noticed that the other party's spirit power fluctuation seemed very weak, far inferior to his own. At this moment, Ning Chuan's heart was filled with immense joy, because a mechanical voice sounded in his mind. Ding! God-level side effect system activated. Binding! Holy cow! Ning Chuan was so excited he almost cried out. He had actually obtained a system. Let's see how this monk can turn things upside down. Wait. What is a side effect system? God-level side effect system binding complete. A light screen, imperceptible to others, appeared before him, displaying text. Host, Ning Chuan. Spirit, not yet customized. Innate spirit power, level 0.5. Current side effects. Spirit quality is low, poor toughness, fragile, limited by spirit, unable to break through level 30 for life. Appearance, skin rough and dark from prolonged exposure to wind and sun. Side effects can be assigned to a designated target. Current target, none note. 1. Each side effect can only be assigned to one target. 2. If the host or designated target dies, the side effect cannot be transferred. 3. The feedback benefits depend on the designated target. Side effects. Assign someone to bear them. As a seasoned novel reader, Ning Chuan didn't even need to read the system's explanation to understand how it worked. It roughly meant that doing something would bring side effects, and these effects could be assigned to a specific person. Simply put, in one sentence, I get the benefits, you bear the side effects. After understanding this, Ning Chuan instantly became excited, a terrifying light bursting forth from his eyes. If this was the case, if the effect was truly useful, then wouldn't his weakness of slow cultivation speed and weak strength, caused by his spirit being flashy but useless and of low quality, also be transferable to others? In the future, if he suffered injuries from overcultivation, as long as he didn't die, the pain could be borne by others. Even if he borrowed high-interest loans because of lack of money, and the loan sharks came to collect debts and used various methods against him, couldn't others bear that too? As for the scapegoat, for example, Tang San. Ning Chuan looked intently at Tang San, who was startled by the terrifying gaze. What does this guy want to do? Is he trying to harm me? Tang San subconsciously prepared himself. Mysterious Heaven Treasure Record General Outline, Article 3. As long as the opponent is determined to be an enemy, he deserves to die. Do not show mercy, otherwise it will only bring trouble upon yourself. In Tang San's view, Ning Chuan showing malicious intent towards him already meant he deserved to die. At the same time, although he hadn't yet crafted hidden weapons and couldn't silently kill Ning Chuan in front of Professor Su, Grandmaster Professor Su, who had awakened their spirits earlier, had little spirit power left. He was confident he could use Mysterious Jade Hand and Controlling Crane Catching Dragon to deal with the other party, then kill all the children in the room, including this fellow. By then, he would only need to feign an injury, and presumably, Spirit Hall wouldn't suspect a 6-year-old child like him afterwards. Fortunately, nothing happened. Ning Chuan's slightly ill-intentioned expression gradually softened. He looked at Professor Su with an innocent face. "Grandmaster Professor Su, is my spirit very strong?" Almost all sword-type spirits are good. There's even a sword spirit wielder who has become a titled Douluo renowned throughout the world. Your sword is so magnificent, it definitely won't be bad. Let's quickly test it. Professor Su handed the blue crystal ball to Ning Chuan, telling him to test his innate spirit power. But Ning Chuan interrupted him. Then how should this spirit be cultivated? Professor Su, thinking about recruiting him into Spirit Hall later, didn't think much and patiently explained. First, you need to raise your spirit power to level 10 and then acquire a spirit ring. Then, Grandmaster, how do I increase my spirit power? Ning Chuan was like a curious baby with endless questions. Increasing spirit power requires meditation, like this. Professor Su patiently taught him, as it was all very basic, something almost every spirit master knew. But Ning Chuan listened very carefully, and following Professor Su's method, he sat down cross-legged on the spot and circulated the faint, almost imperceptible spirit power within him. He found that the spirit power circulated very slowly, even slower than a snail's pace. He couldn't help but secretly rejoice that he had activated the system. Otherwise, with this innate half-level spirit power, he might end up becoming another Yu Xia Agang in the future. He might even be worse than Yu Xia Agang. After all, he didn't have the resources that Yu Xia Agang had. Tang San, who was also listening very carefully, was surprised to find that this spirit power meditation had some similarities with his mysterious heaven skill. It was just too simplified, only the most basic of things. A moment later, Ning Chuan opened his eyes. Professor Su eagerly handed over the blue crystal ball. Quickly test your innate spirit power. Under everyone's gaze, Ning Chuan retracted the bamboo sword back into his body and lightly touched the blue crystal ball with his raised hand. The next moment, the blue crystal ball in Professor Su's hand lit up with a faint glow, so dim that it seemed it could extinguish at any moment. Innate spirit power is not even level 1, only about half a level. How is this possible? Test it again. Professor Su thought there was a problem with the crystal ball for testing spirit power, and had Ning Chuan test it again. But the result was still half a level of innate spirit power. Professor Su, not believing it, had Tang San test it again, and it was still full innate spirit power. Only then did he confirm that it wasn't the testing crystal ball that had a problem, but that Ning Chuan's innate spirit power was indeed only half a level. This shouldn't be. Generally speaking, powerful spirits don't have low innate spirit power. Release your spirit again and let me see. Professor Su gestured for Ning Chuan to summon his spirit again, then carefully inspected it by hand. He found that although the sword was magnificent and quite sharp, it was made of bamboo. He estimated that he could easily snap it with a pinch, and it was of little use, probably not even able to cut a small tree branch. It was a typical example of being flashy but useless. So it's a bamboo sword. Professor Su showed a look of disappointment. How to describe this look? It was like an ordinary person on Blue Star who had just won 5 million, only to find out the lottery ticket was misprinted Chapter 3, I'll take the benefits. Tang San asked curiously from the side, "Uncle, is there something wrong with his spirit?" Professor Su nodded and said, "There is indeed a problem. Although it can't be considered a completely useless spirit, it's not far off. After all, how much offensive power can a sword made of bamboo have? It's truly strange. One of you has a useless spirit with no offensive power, yet possesses innate full spirit power, while the other has a bamboo sword that looks good but is useless." He didn't say anything more, simply put away the spirit awakening stone and the crystal testing ball. After issuing spirit certificates for the two, he picked up his bag and walked out. Tang San and the other 7 children followed behind him. Ning Chuan silently followed at the very back, defining the spirit in his mind, then selecting Tang Hao. The system text then changed. Spirit, Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword. Side effect can be assigned to a designated recipient. Current recipient, Tang Hao. Side effect, low spirit quality, rough and dark skin. Ding! Detected that the host has 2 side effects. Please choose. A spirit. Old Mouse was already ugly enough. This rough and dark skin, the chance to become uglier, of course, had to be left to little San. After all, they were family. They should be neat and tidy, shouldn't they? Most importantly, the system provides feedback based on the strength of the recipient. The stronger the recipient, the more benefits are returned. Tang San's innate spirit power was cultivated through a cultivation technique. It was a pseudo-innate full spirit power. If the feedback was the opponent's cultivation speed, without mysterious heaven skill, he would undoubtedly find it difficult to catch up. Tang Hao was different. He was hailed as a genius rarely seen in the clear sky sect for 100 years. Even if he didn't have innate full spirit power, he was not far off. In addition, Tang Hao's clear sky hammer, which had 8 power-type spirit rings and a 100,000-year blue-silver emperor spirit ring, was absolutely incomparable to Tang San's half-baked blue-silver grass and clear sky hammer without attached spirit rings. It's no exaggeration to say that, after transferring the side effects of his spirit to Tang Hao, he no longer had to worry about the Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword being broken or shattered. So Ning Chuan chose Tang Hao without hesitation in his heart. This way, the benefits returned would naturally be more. Host, Ning Chuan. Spirit, Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword. Current side effects: poor spirit quality, fragile, slow cultivation speed, unable to break through level 30 for life. Rough and dark skin significantly reduces appearance. Side effect designated recipient. Tang Hao clear sky hammer spirit quality significantly reduced, spirit power unable to advance for life. This counts as a bargain for that kid, little San. Ning Chuan really wanted to designate Tang San. This way, even if Tang San had twin spirits, and even if his biological father, Asura god, later gave him a cheat, his cultivation speed and future achievements would definitely be affected. However, this did not align with his interests. The side effect of being unable to break through level 30 for life also had little effect on twin spirits. Besides, if Tang San were gone in the future, wouldn't he lose a lot of fun? Where would he go to exploit others? On the other side, as soon as Professor Su opened the wooden house door, Old Jack and Old Tom eagerly greeted him. Grandmaster, how is it? Are there any children from our village who can become spirit masters this year? Grandmaster, where is little Six from our village? Professor Su looked at them, sighed, and said, Yes, both of your villages have them, but it's a pity. That child named Tang San, although he possesses innate full spirit power, has a useless blue-silver grass. The other child named Ning Chuan also has a spirit that looks good but is useless. It's a fragile bamboo sword, and his innate spirit power isn't even level 1. That's great. Now our Emperor Soul Village can finally produce another spirit master. Old Tom was overjoyed to hear that Ning Chuan could become a spirit master. For him, it didn't matter what Ning Chuan's spirit was like, as long as he could cultivate and become a spirit master. But Old Jack's eyes showed a look of surprise and uncertainty. Then, Grandmaster, can blue-silver grass really not be cultivated? Professor Su patted Old Jack's shoulder and exhaled. It's not that there's absolutely no way to cultivate it. It's just that no one knows what blue-silver grass will evolve into as spirit power increases. Even if he becomes a spirit master, he's probably a useless one, far inferior to a bamboo sword. All right, These are the spirit certificates for the 2 children from your village. I've already prepared them. With these, you can send the children to Noding Academy for enrollment. Noding Academy starts in 3 months, don't forget. Also, I still need to go to the next village, Old Tom. Since the child from Emperor Soul Village has already been sent over, I won't go to your village anymore. Professor Su was responsible for the spirit awakening of more than a dozen villages near New Oding City. Currently, he had only visited 7 villages, and including Emperor Soul Village, that made 8. To return to New Oding City before dark, he had to hurry. Without Professor Su, Old Tom and Old Jack, who had been getting along, immediately started bickering. See, Old Jack, our Emperor Soul Village can finally produce another spirit master. HMPH, it's just a bamboo sword. Little San from our village has innate full spirit power. That's still better than blue silver grass. Our Saint Spirit village once produced a spirit saint. Nonsense. How could such a coincidence happen? 100 years ago, our Emperor Soul Village just produced a spirit emperor, and then your village immediately produced a spirit saint. I think you're just following our trend. Nonsense. Your Emperor Soul Village spirit emperor is fake. The surrounding crowd had long grown accustomed to this. After all, these 2 old men were famous rivals, arguing from their youth until now, mainly about whether Emperor Soul Village and Saint Spirit Village had ever produced a spirit emperor or spirit saint, and who was following whose trend. In the end, it was the parents of the 7 children who awakened their spirits with Ning Chuan and Tang San who stepped forward to dissuade them, preventing the 2 old men from fighting. After leaving Saint Spirit Village, Old Tom led Ning Chuan by the hand, walking towards Emperor Soul Village, and said, "Little Six, you've brought honor to our village today. From now on, you don't need to go collect firewood anymore. Focus on your cultivation and strive to become a spirit master as soon as possible." "I will, Grandpa Tom." Ning Chuan smiled, and at the same time, he bound the side effect of rough and dark skin, caused by years of sun and wind exposure, to Tang San. From now on, no matter how much sun and wind he endured, his skin would only get better and whiter. In contrast, Tang San would become dark and grimy, turning into a complete rough man. Even if Tang San's blue-silver grass spirit were to undergo a second awakening in the future and his appearance improved, his own appearance would also increase accordingly. Of course, this increase wasn't like Tang San's cosmetic change. Instead, it would be a refinement of existing flaws, without giving the feeling of a completely different person. Old Mouse, Little San, I hope you like these 2 gifts I've given you. Thinking of Tang Hao making a scene in Spirit Hall during the Soul Master competition, his clear sky hammer being shattered by Bibai Dong and others, and thinking of Tang San turning into a dark and grimy rough man, Ning Chuan's lips couldn't help but curl upwards. P.S. Third update, seeking monthly votes Chapter 4 side effects. The Tang family father and son. Alas, it's a pity I only have 1 spirit. I won't be able to show off as much in the future. Thinking of Tang San possessing twin spirits, Ning Chuan couldn't help but sigh with such emotion. Ding! Detected that the host does not have twin spirits. Please select a binding recipient. Ding! Detected that the host's spirit side effect has been bound to Tang Hao, but no twin spirits were detected on Tang Hao. Ding! Detected that the host's first spirit is the Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword. Second spirit matching. Ding! Matching complete. Congratulations, host, on acquiring a second spirit. Please customize it. Immediately, Ning Chuan felt another warm current, distinctly different from the Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword, about to burst from his left palm. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Ning Chuan curled his lips and continued in his mind. Alas, if only I had 3 spirits. Ding! No side effect detected. Well, it seemed he was indeed being too greedy. But having twin spirits was already very good. He just didn't know what kind of second spirit the system had matched for him. At the same time, Tang San had already returned home. Tang San's father, Tang Hao, was once the young sect master of the Clear Sky sect and the renowned Clear Sky Douluo of the Spirit Master's world. Because he spent his days wandering the world with his pregnant spirit beast wife, Yin, they were discovered by Spirit Hall and besieged. In the end, Yin was forced to sacrifice herself, and Tang Hao, who obtained 100,000-year spirit ring, erupted in power, causing one of the two Douluo personally guarding the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall to die and the other to be crippled. The Supreme Pontiff himself was severely injured and beyond cure, almost bringing about the Clear Sky sect's annihilation. Thereafter, due to his wife's death, the disheartened Tang Hao did not return to the sect, staying in this village to become a blacksmith. He spent his days either drinking or sleeping. His life was incredibly decadent. But at this moment, his originally decadent, cloudy eyes were filled with shock and excitement as he looked at Tang San. No, to be precise, he was looking at the small black hammer emitting a dark glow in Tang San's left hand. It was a completely black hammer, about half a foot long, with a cylindrical head and an ornate inscription coiling around its surface. This is twin spirits. It's actually twin spirits. Son, my good son. He dashed to Tang San's front, suddenly opened his arms, and tightly embraced Tang San. Father! Tang San was instantly stunned. In his memory, this seemed to be the first time his father had ever embraced him like this. As a result, his eyes instantly reddened, and he quietly leaned into Tang Hao's embrace, enjoying the warmth brought by this paternal love. After a long while, Tang San could no longer hold the hammer because it was too heavy, and only then did Tang Hao release his arms and say, "Put it away." The dark glow receded, and the clear sky hammer was retrieved by Tang San into his body. Tang Hao's gaze towards Tang San once again held a hint of guilt. Unbeknownst to him, his and Yin's son had grown so much, and he hadn't even noticed how tanned he had become. Yes, at this moment, Tang San had become even darker. Originally, due to the protection of mysterious heaven skill, even with years of wind and sun exposure, his skin was only a healthy wheat color. Now, it had become even darker and rougher, at least twice as dark. However, upon thinking that his son possessed twin spirits, Tang Hao couldn't help but reveal a look of relief. He placed his two large hands on Tang San's shoulders and said earnestly, "Little San, you must remember, in your future, you must use the hammer in your left hand to protect the grass in your right hand." "I will, father." Tang San nodded, not fully understanding. Tang Hao stood up and went inside without looking back. He had made up his mind to pull himself together and resume cultivation. Because his son, Tang San, had given him hope for revenge against Spirit Hall. Tang San prepared lunch while thinking about the Spirit Master's world he had encountered today. Twin spirits seemed to be very rare in this world. Otherwise, his father wouldn't have been so surprised. "Don't you like forging and want to become a spirit master? If you want to go, then go. After lunch, I'll formally teach you forging." Tang Hao's voice came from inside. Hearing this, Tang San's heart filled with joy, and he no longer pondered over those irrelevant thoughts. He would slowly learn everything in the future anyway. Also, in the future, don't run to the back mountain as much. The sun is strong on the mountain. Look how tanned you've become. Tang Hao's first sentence made Tang San's heart jump to his throat. Had his father discovered his secret? The second sentence made Tang San instantly let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he walked to the water vat and looked at his dark reflection, revealing a wry smile. He had indeed gotten much darker. At noon, Ning Chuan returned to Emperor Soul Village with old Tom. All right, you go play by yourself. I'll go make dinner first. I'll call you when it's ready. Old Tom looked at Ning Chuan, whose skin had suddenly become fair and whose overall appearance had improved by a notch, feeling increasingly gratified. According to Ning Chuan's previous words, his skin had turned white due to the influence of his spirit, and his bamboo sword spirit was not a trash spirit either. Got it, Grandpa Tom. Ning Chuan responded, eagerly beginning to examine the benefits he had gained from sending the 2 side effects to the father and son beggars. He quickly ran to a deserted stream. First, his skin had noticeably whitened. Then his spirit. Ning Chuan slowly raised his right hand, and a faint green light spewed from his palm. The light instantly condensed, and the azure bamboo bee cloud sword appeared in his palm. It was still the familiar emerald green, ornate small sword, but this time its weight greatly exceeded his imagination, and even the surrounding air felt unusually oppressive. His arms slowly drooped, and Ning Chuan's face instantly turned pale. Unlike before, when it required almost no spirit power consumption, this time, as soon as the azure bamboo bee cloud sword appeared, it instantly drained Ning Chuan's meager spirit power. He couldn't bear the sudden weight and fell backward onto the grass. And the azure bamboo bee cloud sword, losing spirit power support, also vanished the moment he fell. It was fortunate that this happened. Otherwise, suddenly holding such a heavy sword, with Ning Chuan's small arms and frail body, he would surely have dislocated something. It seems to have gotten much heavier. It looks like I'll have to exercise more in the future. Otherwise, I won't even be able to lift the sword. Ning Chuan clicked his tongue in his heart. Although the azure bamboo bee cloud sword hadn't reached the exaggerated weight of 500 katas like the clear sky hammer, it was still around 100 to 80 katas. However, this wasn't a bad thing. After all, a sword isn't a hammer. If it were too cumbersome, it would be counterproductive. Just then, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! Detected that the host's spirit power is overconsumed. Do you want to bind a recipient? Bind Tang Hao. Ning Chuan unhesitatingly chose to bind Tang Hao. With Tang Hao as his power bank, he would almost never lack spirit power in future battles. Chapter 5 Second Martial Spirit. Ding! Detected that the bound recipient is more than 5 kilometers away from the host. Is there a binding distance? Ning Chuan was helpless and had to temporarily give up, sitting cross-legged on the spot, and began to meditate to increase his spirit power according to the method taught by Professor Su. It must be said that the azure bamboo bee cloud sword, which had its side effects eliminated and received beneficial feedback, was still of very high quality. Even if it couldn't compare to those innate full spirit power tool spirits, it wasn't far off. And the improvement in spirit quality was accompanied by an increase in cultivation speed. In just a moment, his depleted spirit power had recovered completely, and there were even signs of improvement. Let's try the second spirit. Slowly raising his right hand, this time there was no longer the situation where his spirit power was instantly sucked dry by the spirit, but a dazzling silver orb appeared in his hand. The silver orb was not large, only the size of an adult's fist, but the flickering, eerie silver light was truly too eye-catching. Ning Chuan stood by the small river, deep in thought. He always felt that he had heard of, or even seen, this silver sphere somewhere, but he couldn't recall it at the moment. However, this spirit must be related to his first spirit, as it was matched by the system through the first spirit. Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword. A flash of inspiration struck Ning Chuan's mind, as if he had thought of something. He hurriedly injected all his spirit power into the silver sphere. But this silver orb seemed like a dead object, showing no movement. Seeing this scene, Ning Chuan couldn't help but show the bitter smile that many readers disliked. His spirit power was still too low. With such little spirit power, he simply couldn't control the silver sphere. It seems that finding a power bank is imminent. Ning Chuan sighed in his heart, his gaze turning towards Saint Spirit Village. Old Tom's voice came from afar. "Little Six, it's 12:30, come home for lunch." "Oh, coming." Ning Chuan responded and got up, walking towards Old Tom's house. After lunch, Ning Chuan eagerly rushed to the 5-kilometer area near Saint Spirit Village, without even taking a deep breath during the journey. To get there faster, he even used that trace of negligible spirit power. Ding! Detected that the host's stamina is overexpended. Do you wish to bind a recipient? Ding! Detected that the host's spirit power is overexpended. Do you wish to bind a recipient? Bind them all to Tang Hao. Anyway, Tang Hao is a titled Douluo, and he is also a strength type titled Douluo, so both his stamina and spirit power are excellent. This way, once successful, Ning Chuan will have virtually unlimited stamina and spirit power. Ding! Binding successful. Instantly, his spirit power and stamina, which had been depleted from rapid movement, returned to normal. Now I can finally test this second spirit. Ning Chuan glanced at the small grove beside the road and plunged into it. He went deep enough that the road behind him was no longer visible. Ning Chuan raised his left hand and summoned the silver orb. As spirit power continuously poured into it, after a moment, the originally motionless silver orb finally changed. As if made of sand, in an instant, it split into specks of silver light and emitted a buzzing sound. Looking closely, these silver lights were all bean-sized flying insects. Apart from an extra pair of visible fangs, their appearance was identical to ordinary beetles. There was nothing special about them that could be seen, but Ning Chuan's face showed a smile. Because he thought of a wondrous insect from a mortal's journey to immortality. It was also one of the 2 main signature items that accompanied Old Devil Han for the longest time. Devouring gold bugs. A group of fierce insects, fond of devouring strange insects, good at consuming 5 metals and spiritual energy of heaven and earth, extremely ferocious, impervious to water and fire, fond of gathering in spheres, can be trapped by jade and wood, and are countered by spider-like strange insects. As for the other signature item, it was naturally the azure bamboo bee cloud sword, which was used from core formation all the way to Dao Ancestor. The system truly didn't deceive me. Let's test its effectiveness. He took out the prepared flint, picked up some dry wood on the spot, and lit a bonfire. Ning Chuan controlled the swarm of insects to rush into the bonfire. These insects not only showed no signs of being burned to ashes, but instead were jumping around lively. And they devoured the burning flames at an extremely fast speed, extinguishing the flames in an instant, leaving only a pile of unburnt dry wood. Next, Ning Chuan found a puddle and threw the swarm into it. As a result, even the mud at the bottom was eaten away by the swarm. Although I can't confirm if they are truly devouring gold bugs, at least being impervious to water and fire is real. Ning Chuan nodded in satisfaction, defining his second spirit as devouring gold bugs. Buzz! Just then, for no reason, Ning Chuan felt an extremely strong sense of dizziness, as if the entire world was spinning. Ding! Detected that the host's mental force is overexpended. Do you wish to bind a recipient? It seems that controlling devouring gold bugs also consumes mental force. Well, it's bug control after all. Bind Tang Hao. Ning Chuan didn't take it to heart. Anyway, when he encountered difficulties, he would just bind Tang Hao. Binding successful. Immediately, Ning Chuan felt a sense of clarity. His head no longer spun, his body no longer felt uncomfortable, and he only felt mentally refreshed. Since I'm here, I might as well brush a few more side effects. First, spirit power meditation. It is well known that if a spirit master cultivates excessively, the meridians in their body will not be able to withstand it, thus forcing them to stop cultivating. This is especially true for those with lower cultivation. As a result, if you fall behind one step, you fall behind every step. This is also one of the reasons why people with low innate spirit power cultivate slowly. Therefore, Ning Chuan simply found a secluded corner, sat down cross-legged, and began to meditate to improve his spirit power. A quarter of an hour passed. Ning Chuan felt that his spirit power had improved slightly, and he felt no discomfort. Half an hour passed. Ning Chuan began to feel a slight bloating and pain. An hour passed, and Ning Chuan could no longer hold on. His meridians were so bloated and painful that he could not continue cultivating. Just at this moment, the system prompt sounded again in Ning Chuan's mind. Ding! Detected that the host's meridians are damaged, excessive meditation. Do you want to designate a recipient? Although Tang Rishan has suffered internal injuries, he is still a titled Douluo, and the strength of his meridians is astonishing. This little side effect is nothing to him. Bind Tang Hao. Ning Chuan chose Tang Hao without hesitation. Ding! Binding successful. Instantly, Ning Chuan felt that his originally bloated and painful meridians had recovered completely. Next were 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, 100 frog jumps, 100 left-right jumps, and carrying a heavy stone for 10 kilometers. With Tang Hao as his power bank, Ning Chuan had virtually inexhaustible stamina. Ding! Detected that the host's muscles are strained. Do you wish to bind a recipient? Ding! Detected that the host's periosteum is abraded. Do you wish to bind a recipient? Ding! Detected that the host's Chapter 6, the third victim, Yu Xiaogang. Bind Tang Hao for me, all of it. Ding! It is detected that the host's body has been overexercised, affecting height and physique. Do you want to bind a recipient? This must be bound to Tang San. For things that wouldn't affect his own cultivation by binding a recipient, Ning Chuan naturally threw them onto Tang San. Time flew by. After 3 consecutive months, Ning Chuan was out early and back late. During the day, he carried stones and ran to the vicinity of St. Spirit Village to train frantically, harming his own body. At night, he meditated all night long, constantly accumulating side effects and transferring them to Tang Hao. His progress was remarkably fast. Not only had his physique become much stronger, but his spirit power had also increased from half a level to 5 levels. And at this time, it was finally the day to register at Noding Academy. Because Nuding City was even further away, Old Tom set off with Ning Chuan early in the morning, when the sky was still dimly lit. On the other hand, Tang San's family was in a miserable state. In the early morning, after practicing Purple Demon Eye, he returned home. Compared to 3 months ago, Tang San was now even darker, so much so that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he had become a piece of charcoal, a complete Tang charcoal. At the same time, his body appeared subtly uncoordinated. His physical strength hadn't increased much, but he had gained some useless dead muscles. Even his arms and thighs were slightly deformed. At first, he thought something had gone wrong with his cultivation, but he only looked a bit ugly. His body didn't feel any discomfort. After cooking the porridge as usual, Tang San called out to the inner room of the blacksmith shop. "Dad, it's time to eat." Surprisingly, Tang Hao, who would usually come out as soon as he heard about food, didn't appear today. Tang San's heart tightened. Had Dad fallen ill? He quickly ran into Tang Hao's room. Tang Hao lay quietly on that messy, almost stale bed. His originally sallow complexion had turned incomparably pale at some point. Cold sweat seeped from his forehead, and his face showed a painful, distorted expression. "How did you get in? Didn't I say you weren't allowed to come in without my permission?" After Tang San entered, Tang Hao suddenly opened his eyes. "Dad, are you sick?" Tang San opened his mouth and asked worriedly. Because his skin had turned charcoal black, his not-so-white teeth stood out especially in the dim room. Tang Hao slowly got up and shook his head. "I'm fine, let's go out and eat." It would be a ghost if he was fine. He didn't know what was happening. Ever since his son Tang San awakened his spirit, he had been in severe pain all over his body, as if an ordinary person had done 10 people's worth of heavy physical labor every day. Both his muscles and bones ached terribly. Even his meridians were like this, swelling and hurting severely every late night. Besides that, his mental force, spirit power, and physical strength were also severely depleted. Although this was nothing for him, a titled Douluo, being relentlessly pushed to his limits day and night by someone for 3 consecutive months, even a titled Douluo's astonishing recovery ability couldn't handle it. It made him feel terribly uncomfortable day and night. Coupled with the hidden injuries left from his battle with Kyan Zunji, it was practically taking his old life. The most crucial thing was that he found his spirit power could no longer improve, stopping at level 92, the same as after his battle with Spirit Hall 6 years ago. Of course, Tang Hao was unaware of all this, only subconsciously assuming it was due to a relapse of his old injuries. That was the only possible reason. Tang San wanted to say more, but Tang Hao sternly stopped him. "Enough," I said, "I'm fine. From now on, you children should meddle less in adult affairs. Also, after you finish eating, pack up. Old Jack will take you to Noding Academy in a bit." "I understand, Dad." Tang San knew he wouldn't get anything out of him, so he didn't ask any more questions, but he vaguely felt that his father seemed to be hiding something. After breakfast, Tang San set off with Old Jack. Although Ning Chuan and Old Tom set off earlier than them, because Emperor Soul Village was further from New Oding City, they still arrived a bit later. At this moment, Tang San seemed to have already had a conflict with the gatekeeper. When Ning Chuan and Old Tom arrived, they just happened to see them standing with a middle-aged man holding a Spirit Master certificate. The middle-aged man was about 40 or 50 years old, of medium height, slightly thin, with an ordinary appearance, thick lips, a crew cut, and a dense stubble on his face. He looked somewhat decadent. But a faint smile radiated from his face, indicating that he was in a very good mood at the moment. "You, Zaya Agang." Ning Chuan narrowed his eyes slightly, roughly guessing the other party's identity. Old Tom stepped forward and asked, "Old Jack, who is this?" Don't let the 2 old fellows' usual bickering fool you. Their relationship was actually quite good. Seeing Old Tom bring Ning Chuan over, Old Jack, fearing they would be troubled by the gatekeeper again, quickly said, "Old Tom, let me introduce you. This is the Grandmaster from Noding Academy." "Grandmaster, this is Old Tom from Emperor Soul Village. He's also brought a child to register at Noding Academy this time. What do you think?" Upon hearing this, Ning Chuan was unbothered, but Old Tom, an ordinary person facing Yu Xiaogang, a Spirit Master, inevitably felt a bit uneasy and nervous. "Grandmaster." Yu Xiaogang glanced at Tang San, suppressing the fervor and impatience in his heart. He casually looked at Ning Chuan a few times, seeing that the child's eyes were sharp. Perhaps he was also a genius. So he smiled and said, "Let me see your Spirit Master certificates as well." If this child's talent was good, and his innate spirit power could reach level 9 or above, he might consider taking him as a disciple. Unfortunately, he would soon be disappointed. He looked at the Spirit Master certificate he received from Old Tom. when he saw the word spirit, bamboo sword and innate spirit power. Half-level, his originally somewhat smiling, stiff face immediately fell. Especially when he saw the words innate spirit power. Half-level, it was as if something had triggered his sensitive nerves. A peculiar, icy aura emanated from his entire being. All right, both of these certificates are correct. Old sir, I apologize on behalf of the Academy for what happened just now. This child can be left with me. As for the other child, tell him to take his Spirit Master certificate and go directly inside to register. Yu Xiaogang only kept Tang San's Spirit Master certificate, then apologized to old Jack. As for Ning Chuan and old Tom, after casually returning their Spirit Master certificates, he didn't look at them again. The speed of the contrast and the drastic change in expression, even though Ning Chuan was prepared, still left him stunned. Good heavens, he really was as arrogant as he was insecure. This condescending attitude, who was he looking down on Chapter 7? Dashi gets beaten. Just then, a mature, beautiful woman in a fiery long dress walked past the entrance of Noting Academy. Ning Chuan glanced at Yu Xiaogang, thinking, you look down on me, huh? Then I'll make you suffer a bit, and I'll have some fun too. Selection complete. The system text changed. Host, Ning Chuan. Spirit, Azure Bamboo Bee Cloud Sword, Devouring Gold Bugs. Spirit Power, Level 5. Ning Chuan's actions were seen by the gatekeeper, who was looking at the beautiful woman. He was instantly stunned. Holy crap! On the beautiful woman's left chest, there was an emblem carved with a long sword. The gatekeeper looked at the 4 long swords on the emblem and secretly gave a thumbs up. You dare to touch the butt of a spirit elder. I don't admire anyone but you. You are truly fierce. Bastard, molesting me, you're asking for death. The gatekeeper secretly chuckled, ready to watch Ning Chuan make a fool of himself. But the beautiful woman slapped Yu Xiaogang across his face. Slap. Auntie, it wasn't Grandmaster who touched you. It was him. Tang San pointed at Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan's little movement just now had not escaped him. You little scoundrel, how dare you betray me? But my charm is not something you can compare to. Just wait until I deal with you later. Ning Chuan blinked his innocent big eyes, putting on a look of a forced victim. Yes, elder sister, I accidentally touched you. Please don't blame Grandmaster. Grandmaster is a good person. Just now, the gatekeeper demanded a bribe and said our work-study student's spirit certificate was fake and wouldn't let us in. It was Grandmaster who stepped forward and agreed to take us in to register. Yes, it wasn't me. Besides, I've been with this child named Tang San all along, and I was holding his spirit certificate. How could I have touched you? Yu Xiaogang quickly raised the spirit certificate in his hand. Don't let his usual aloof and indifferent appearance fool you. In reality, he was just a bully who flattered superiors and oppressed subordinates, only knowing how to strike hard internally and being weak and powerless externally, the kind who lives off others but acts tough. He would never show a bad face to those who were genuinely good to him, no matter how high their spirit power was. But when it came to a stranger, especially when he had no help by his side, he instantly chickened out. Old Jack and old Tom were also nervous when they heard it was Ning Chuan and wanted to step forward to plead for him. The gatekeeper's mouth twitched fiercely, hoping Ning Chuan would be beaten to death by the beautiful woman. Who told him to drag himself into it? Unexpectedly, after the beautiful woman glanced at the spirit certificate in Yu Xiaogang's hand, she slapped him again. And as she slapped, everyone could vaguely see pink light emanating from the beautiful woman's palm. Ning Chuan knew that this time, the other party was serious and had even used spirit power. Bang! Slapped by a spirit elder using spirit power, Yu Xiaogang was directly sent flying, spitting blood, and even a few of his molars were knocked out. Tang San's spirit certificate flew out of his hand and was caught by the quick-witted Tang San. Tang San shook his head, looking helpless. From the woman's action of slapping Yu Xiaogang away, it was not difficult to see that her strength was far superior to his own. Even using the silent sleeve dart hidden in his sleeve would not be an opponent, so it was better not to provoke her. Moreover, he had no relation to this grandmaster. Being able to identify him just now was already doing his utmost. How outrageous! You even dare to threaten a work-study student into giving false testimony. This old lady will beat you to death, you old pervert. You tell me who touched me just now. The beautiful woman looked at the gatekeeper with fierce eyes. The gatekeeper swallowed hard, knowing that if he gave false testimony, he would probably become the second Yu Xiaogang. So he raised his hand and pointed at the dizzy Yu Xiaogang who had been slapped. Having identified her target, the beautiful woman went up and swung her pink fists, giving Yu Xiaogang another good beating. These were not the pink fists of a little girl acting spoiled, but actual fists covered in spirit power. She beat Yu Xiaogang until he scurried away, clutching his head. The commotion here quickly attracted the attention of the teachers of Noting Academy. Soon, several teachers, notified by students, ran over. The leading teacher saw that the one beating Yu Xiaogang was a female spirit elder, and while his heart skipped a beat, he also quickly stepped forward to ask, "Esteemed spirit elder, may I ask why you are hitting someone at Noting Academy?" Seeing the teachers from Noting Academy arrive, the beautiful woman also stopped in time. A red light flashed from the pink bracelet on her left arm, and she took out a golden paper. "I am the new head teacher of Noting Academy. My spirit is Dark Fragrance Sword, a level 37 agility attack system battle soul grandmaster. This is my employment notice." As she spoke, 2 yellow and 1 purple spirit rings rose from beneath her feet. Pink light surged in her right hand, and a dark red, fragrant fine sword appeared in her palm. So it's head teacher Louise. The teachers had already known that an head teacher would be coming to the academy, and upon seeing the employment notice, their attitude immediately became more respectful. Having stated her identity, Louise was about to make a fuss. Is this person called Grandmaster also a teacher at the academy? And what's going on with this gatekeeper? Grandmaster is indeed from our academy, but not a teacher. As for Xiao Huo, he is the nephew of the former head teacher, Horton, the leading teacher said, looking at Yu Xiaogang, who was lying unconscious on the ground, and then at the frightened gatekeeper. Louise snorted. So it's a freeloader and a crony. One was acting like a hooligan on the street, and the other was making things difficult for work-study students. If the work-study students didn't give him benefits, he wouldn't let them in. From now on, I never want to see them in the academy again. And okay, head teacher. We were also planning to dismiss Horton, as we've received many student complaints recently. But Grandmaster is the dean's friend, so the dean sighed. Dismissing the gatekeeper was naturally no problem, as people come and go, but Yu Xiaogang was the dean's friend. Louise frowned, then dismissed the gatekeeper first. From now on, I don't want to see any more bullying of students. Although she was the head teacher and had great power in Noting Academy, she still had to give face to the dean. Giving that so-called grandmaster a good beating today was a lesson for him. If he dared to offend again next time, she would show no mercy. Chapter 8 World-famous paintings. Yes. At Louise's request, the doorman was fired on the spot, while Yu Xiaogang, due to his connection with the dean, was sent to the academy's infirmary by 2 teachers. Ignoring Yu Xiaogang, Louise's gaze turned to Ning Chuan and the other 3. She directly overlooked Tang San and focused on Ning Chuan, a smile appearing on her face. Little brother, all right, you can go directly to register now. If any teacher or staff member acts improperly or bullies you in the academy in the future, You can tell me directly. I understand, thank you, big sister. You little rascal, with my age, I'm old enough to be your mother. The more Louise looked at Ning Chuan, the more she liked him. There was nothing she could do. Humans were all creatures of appearance. Tang San himself was ugly, dark and sooty like a lump of charcoal, so it was inevitable that he would be ignored by Louise, the beautiful head teacher. In contrast, Ning Chuan was fair-skinned and clean, and his words were pleasant, so he naturally received her care. But Big Sister is truly beautiful. Ning Chuan wasn't lying when he said this, because in this spirit master world, female spirit masters, as long as their spirit wasn't too bad, tended to be quite beautiful. You're quite the smooth talker. All right, Big Sister has something else to do and needs to see the dean. You can follow this teacher to register yourselves. Thank you, Big Sister. Goodbye, Big Sister. After Louise left, Ning Chuan didn't even look at Tang San. He greeted old Tom and then followed the teacher who had fired Horton to register. Old Tom clearly still harbored resentment about Tang San's reporting of Ning Chuan earlier. He didn't look at Tang San either, and after greeting old Jack, he left. All right, little San, you should also go in and register quickly. Old Jack clearly still held hope for Tang San, believing he would bring glory to St. Spirit Village, and motioned for him to go in quickly. Tang San nodded and quickly followed, unable to resist asking, "Why did you say such things? Grandmaster should have no grudge against you, right? Can't I just dislike him?" Ning Chuan's simple sentence directly silenced Tang San. Finally, Tang San snorted coldly, and no one spoke again. Nuoding City Elementary Spirit Master Academy was not particularly large, consisting only of the main teaching building, the playground, and the dormitory building. Although it was only an elementary Spirit Master Academy, it had extremely strict requirements for its students. Even if a student's home was next to the academy, they had to reside in the academy and be subject to unified management. A moment later, the two followed the teacher who had previously fired the doorman to the academic affairs office on the first floor of the teaching building. The person specifically responsible for receiving new students was a teacher who looked to be over 60 years old, surnamed Su. He was the vice head teacher of Noting Academy, and others called him Director Su. Next to him were two young teachers, under 30, assisting him. Because Yu Xiaogang had been injured and carried away by Louise, and had not yet taken any disciples. Although Tang San's innate full spirit power blue-silver grass caught Director Su's attention, no one mentioned Yu Xiaogang being a good-for-nothing to Tang San. Instead, the teacher who had previously fired the doorman and director, Su, discussed the incident where Yu Xiaogang had attempted to molest the new beautiful head teacher and was severely beaten. Director Su and the others were greatly surprised upon hearing this, especially the two young male teachers who already looked down on Yu Xiaogang. After hearing the story, they began to make sarcastic remarks. This greatly displeased Tang San, because he knew that all of this was Ning Chuan's doing. Ignoring Tang San, Ning Chuan didn't wait for him after completing his registration. He collected 2 sets of blue student uniforms and left directly. Noting Academy's dormitory building was on the east side of the playground, very easy to find. Following the guidance of the room number, Ning Chuan quickly arrived at Dorm 7, the gathering place for work-study students. Perhaps it was because of the conflict instigated by Yu Xiaogang that Tang San was delayed quite a bit in his registration. By the time Ning Chuan arrived, Xiao Wu had already reached Dorm 7. A large group of people in Dorm 7 were surrounding her, looking respectful, and calling her sister Wu. It seemed she had already become the boss of Dorm 7 ahead of time. New work-study student, why aren't you coming to pay your respects to our new boss, Sister Wu? Someone shouted when they saw Ning Chuan enter. Not interested. this Ning wouldn't pay respects to that old rabbit. In this Ning's heart, the other party had already become this Ning's spirit ring. Ning Chuan's voice immediately attracted the attention of all the work-study students, including Xiao Wu. One of the older children looked at Ning Chuan, whose skin was fair but whose clothes were patched, and walked towards him. "My name is Wang Sheng, my spirit is Battle Tiger, and I'm a future soul grandmaster." "Kid, what's your name, what's your spirit, and how dare you not pay respects to Sister Wu?" "What, you want to fight?" Ning Chuan's answer, instead, made the originally aggressive Wang Sheng lose his nerve. He worried that Ning Chuan was a tough character like Xiao Wu. After a moment of hesitation, he shook his head and said, "It's not about fighting, but about rules. Whoever is the strongest in Dorm 7 is the boss. I was the original boss, but I lost to Sister Wu not long ago. If you don't want to pay respects to Sister Wu, then you must defeat her." Before Ning Chuan could answer, Xiao Wu's boisterous voice came from over there. "Wang Sheng, since he's unwilling to pay respects to me, Sister Wu, then you help Sister Wu teach him a lesson." This, all right. Wang Sheng was in a difficult position, but he still said to Ning Chuan, "No offense." Saying that, Wang Sheng pounced towards Ning Chuan like a fierce tiger descending a mountain. Seeing Wang Sheng pounce and punch his abdomen, Ning Chuan didn't dodge or evade. He let the punch land on him. At the same time, he shouted in his heart, "Bind Tang San." Bang! The next moment, a bizarre scene occurred. Wang Sheng's fist landed on Ning Chuan, but it could no longer advance an inch. How is this possible? Wang Sheng's eyes widened, and everyone else looked as if they had seen a ghost. Everyone in Dorm 7, who knew Wang Sheng, knew that his spirit was Battle Tiger, and his spirit power had already reached rank 9, so he had a lot of strength. Coupled with his age advantage, let alone this seemingly frail new work-study student, even a strong man without spirit power would be knocked to the ground if he took this punch head-on. But this person took Wang Sheng's punch head-on as if nothing happened, feeling neither itch nor pain. It was utterly preposterous. On the other side, Tang San had just completed his new student registration and had not yet left the dormitory building when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. Then, the famous scene appeared. Tang San was like Vegeta from Ning Chuan's previous life's Earth anime, Dragon Ball, when he first came to Earth and was punched in the abdomen by Kakarot. He hunched over, clutching his abdomen with both hands, his eyes bloodshot, sour fluid overflowing from his mouth, and he kept retreating. The difference was that Vegeta endured Kakarot's punch and recovered, but Tang San, because he had no defense whatsoever and didn't even have time to activate Mysterious Heaven's skill, stumbled a few steps before collapsing to the ground motionless, almost spitting out his bile. Chapter 9 beat Xiao Wu to tears. This truly terrified Director Su, who was in charge of new student registration, and he quickly picked him up and ran to the infirmary. At the same time, Tang Hao, who was observing from the shadows, was also bewildered. What happened to little San? Why did he suddenly faint? Did he eat something bad last night? It was a bit surprising to him that the good-for-nothing from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, who had been badly beaten by a mere spirit elder earlier, was also here. Thinking about Yu Xia Agang's past, and then recalling the woman with twin spirits from Spirit Hall, Tang Hao ultimately decided not to prevent him from interacting with his son. Current side effect target, Tang San. Side effect: punch to the abdomen, stomach pain. Severe cases can cause unconsciousness. Looking at the sudden appearance of the system text, Ning Chuan's lips curved into a smile. "Is that all you've got? It's my turn." With that, before anyone could react, Ning Chuan raised his hand and punched Wang Sheng squarely on his right cheek. It must be said that 3 months of reckless, desperate training had indeed yielded significant results. Under this punch, Wang Sheng's body, which was a head taller than Ning Chuan, flew directly out, landed on a bed 2 meters away, then flipped over once more before crashing heavily to the ground. I surrender, I surrender. I'm no match for you. Wang Sheng cried out indistinctly, struggling to his feet in pain, his right cheek visibly swelling at a rapid pace. Xiao Wu, seeing Wang Sheng defeated by a single punch, not only felt no fear but became even more excited. She blinked her adorable big eyes, a sweet smile gracing her fair, rosy face. Hello, my name is Xiao Wu, the Wu from dancing. My spirit is a rabbit, a cute little white rabbit. What about yours? When she smiled, 2 adorable dimples would appear on her face, making her indescribably charming. However, this smile, in the eyes of Wang Sheng and the others, sent shivers down their spines, for having witnessed Xiao Wu's methods earlier, they all knew that beneath this cute smile lay a violent girl. Hello, my name is Ning Chuan. My spirit is Bamboo Sword. Thinking of Little San's earlier betrayal, Ning Chuan deliberately feigned shyness, infatuation, and defenselessness. Before Ning Chuan could finish speaking, Xiao Wu had already moved. She bent her right leg, her foot instantly shooting out, kicking directly towards Ning Chuan's chin with extreme speed. If another work-study student had been hit by this, the outcome would definitely not have been any better than Wang Sheng's earlier. Unfortunately, she encountered Ning Chuan. After being kicked in the chin, Ning Chuan still seemed perfectly fine. He retaliated with a heavy punch to Xiao Wu's abdomen, and then Xiao Wu was sent flying back at an even faster speed than she had arrived. Even Sister Wu is no match for him. Wang Sheng and the others exclaimed in unison, though more than anything, they were horrified. To even lay a hand on such a cute girl, he truly didn't know how to cherish and protect women. Ah, hateful. How dare you attack Sister Wu? Today, I must teach you a good lesson. Never having suffered such humiliation since childhood, Xiao Wu was practically fuming. She stood up in pain and once again used her soft technique against Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan was equally unreserved, swinging his fists directly. Even when thrown by Xiao Wu's soft technique, he would stand up as if unharmed, re-engaging in battle like a tireless machine, completely disregarding defense and only knowing how to attack, as it wasn't him getting injured anyway. Finally, Mo Hen, the teacher in charge of the work-study student dormitory, arrived, and only then did the two separate. By this time, Xiao Wu's eyes were red. They were red both from being hit by Ning Chuan and from not winning. Facing Mo Hen's criticism, Ning Chuan accepted it all. After all, for the next 6 years, he would continue to stay at this academy to learn the language and knowledge of this world, and to fleece the Tang clan father and son. However, his attitude towards Xiao Wu remained cold. He indifferently told Xiao Wu, I have no interest in being the boss of Dorm 7, nor will I acknowledge anyone else as a boss. Calling you Sister Wu is even more impossible. If you provoke me again next time, I'll still beat you. You, woohoo. Hearing this, Xiao Wu could no longer hold back. She covered her face with a wail and squatted on the ground, crying. Mo Hen also found it difficult to say anything, as the academy was a place for cultivating spirit masters, and conflicts among spirit masters were always encouraged by every spirit master academy. He couldn't punish the disadvantaged party simply because 2 students fought, especially since the other party had initiated the conflict. However, on the other hand, this kid named Ning Chuan was truly resilient to beatings. He took so many kicks and acted as if nothing happened. In contrast, the girl named Xiao Wu was almost beaten into a pig's head. To actually hit such a cute girl's face, he really didn't know how to cherish and protect women. All right, stop crying. I'll take you to the infirmary to get bandaged. It wouldn't be good if you had a scar on your face. Hearing Mo Hen's words, Xiao Wu finally stopped crying. And so, by a strange twist of fate, Tang San and Xiao Wu still met. However, this time their encounter was no longer in Dorm 7, but in the infirmary. Plus, Yu Xiaogang accompanied them. Looking at Xiao Wu's departing figure, Ning Chuan felt somewhat helpless. In reality, if conditions allowed, he wouldn't mind intercepting this rabbit. However, Tang Rishan was currently watching from the shadows. Although he had activated the system, the premise for transferring side effects was that he himself remained alive. Although Tang Rishan had been severely crippled by him, a lean camel was still bigger than a horse. Killing him would still be very simple. If he were to intercept the rabbit, Tang Rishan would probably capture the rabbit without hesitation, and he himself would not escape being silenced. He looked at the silent residents of Dorm 7 and said, "Tell me about the academy's situation." At this point, the students gradually recovered from their shock. The battle between Ning Chuan and Xiao Wu had been too brutal, filling them with fear. Finally, Wang Sheng stepped forward. "We work-study students are actually responsible for cleaning the academy. The specific work is arranged by the teachers. The academy has a total of 6 grades. There are 2 classes in the morning and cultivation in the afternoon." Ning Chuan nodded after listening, then asked, "Are there any teachers with blade or sword-type spirits in this academy?" Although he possessed a sword spirit, his understanding of swords was limited to basic movements like thrusting, chopping, pointing, lifting, picking, collapsing, intercepting, slashing, wiping, pairing, clouding, hanging, propping, and pressing. This was because he was a sword enthusiast in his previous life. Therefore, it was very necessary to seek guidance from teachers who possessed blade or sword-type spirits. Even if they didn't know how to use a sword, they were definitely stronger than him. In fact, he might even find inspiration from their Spirit Abilities Chapter 10 Lone Sharking. Wang Sheng thought for a while and replied, "In our academy, compared to spirit masters with beast spirit, there are very few tool spirit, let alone powerful tool spirit like swords. Looking at the entire Noting Academy, only the dean has a battle blade spirit." "Oh, right. It is said that the new head teacher's spirit is also a sword, but I don't know if it's true." Ning Chuan nodded. He had seen Louise's sword spirit. "Then do you know where I can borrow money from?" In addition to learning swordsmanship, Ning Chuan also needed to solve his immediate needs. After all, old Tom was not rich. "No one will lend money to us work-study students unless you go to a casino to borrow it, but in that kind of place, borrowing money is equivalent to signing a contract to sell yourself. They charge usury, and it is said that the interest is several times higher than the principal. If you can't repay the money on time, they will arrest you and sell you as a slave. Even the teachers of the academy can't save you." Wang Sheng seemed to have seen such a thing, and said with lingering fear, "I see," Ning Chuan said thoughtfully, wondering how to maximize his benefits and get more money. Anyway, someone else is taking the blame, so what is there for him to be afraid of? Noting Academy Infirmary. At this moment, Tang San had already woken up. Tang San didn't know what happened. For some reason, he felt as if he had been punched, and then he fainted. When he woke up, he found that his whole body was in terrible pain. Although he didn't understand what happened. Fortunately, every misfortune has its compensation. In this infirmary, he not only saw the Grandmaster who was injured by the head teacher again, but was also impressed by the other party's extensive knowledge and became his disciple. So, that female head teacher's butt was really touched by that Ning Chuan. From Tang San's mouth, Yu Xiaogang learned about Ning Chuan secretly touching the female head teacher. Of course, they didn't know the function of the system. They only thought that Yu Xiaogang was the closest man to the female head teacher, except for the 2 children and 2 old people without spirit power, so he was misunderstood. Tang-san nodded, and then heard Yu Zaya-agang say, "It seems that child's mind is a little crooked." "Teacher, don't worry. I will definitely get justice for you." A murderous intent flashed in Tang-san's eyes. Previously, he and Yu Zaya-agang were not related, so it was nothing. But now that the two had become master and disciple, as the saying goes, once a teacher, always a father. Ning Chuan's framing of his teacher already meant he was seeking death. Yu Zaya-agang thought that Tang-san wanted to prove his innocence and shook his head helplessly. "No need, even if you explain to others, no one will believe you. On the contrary, it will completely anger that head teacher. Moreover, it is not the first or second time that the teacher has been misunderstood by the world. After all, in this world where the strong prey on the weak, strength is still the most important thing. Little San, I hope you will always remember this." "I will remember it, teacher." Tang-san listened to Yu Zaya-agang's teachings with fascination. At this moment, a clear voice came from outside. "Is this the infirmary?" As the words fell, a pretty little girl with scorpion braids stood at the door. She looked about 6 years old, slightly taller than Tang-san. Her pretty face was fair and rosy, and her pink and tender appearance was like a ripe peach. Although there were many bruises, it did not affect the overall beauty, making people want to take a bite. Tang-san looked at the girl, and his eyes suddenly went straight. At the same time that Tang-san and Xiao Wu met, Ning Chuan had changed into a blue student uniform and arrived at the largest underground casino in Douluo City. Dalu Casino. Students from this kind of junior spirit master academy are the most popular in casinos because they can often be sold for a good price. Therefore, Dao Ji, the boss of Dalu Casino and a well-known figure in the underworld of Douluo City, personally received him. "You're looking to borrow 100,000 gold coin from me." "Yes, borrow 100,000 gold coin." 100,000 gold coin is not a small amount. What do you have for collateral? Ning Chuan pretended to be simple and smiled. "Dao Ji, I'm in urgent need of money. The Grandmaster at Douluo Academy said that if I don't pay 100,000 tuition fees, he won't accept me as a disciple." So it's that Grandmaster. As the local tyrant of Douluo City, Dao Ji had naturally heard of Yu Zaya-agang. That was a guy who was obviously terrible at his own talent, but thought highly of himself. He just didn't expect that the guy who was fishing for fame and reputation would offer a tuition fee of 100,000 gold coin in order not to accept this child as a disciple. Wasn't this obviously making things difficult for him? But this was also good. If the other party didn't make things difficult for this child, how could this child find them? Looking at his delicate skin and tender flesh, and possessing spirit master talent, if he was put up for auction and sold to those noble ladies as a slave, he would definitely be able to sell for a good price. Based on the principle of cheating whoever he could, Dao Ji pretended to be embarrassed and said, "You can't borrow 100,000 gold coin." Ning Chuan, "Why?" Anyway, he planned to have Tang-san bear the side effects, so he might as well borrow more and make the side effects more intense. He didn't expect Dao Ji to refuse. Dao Ji pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses, which represented a civilized scumbag, and began to educate the child in front of him. "You also said that you are just a student of the Douluo City Junior Spirit Master Academy. When you came in, you also tested your innate spirit power, and it was only level 5. We have a price for each level, so you can only borrow 5,000, but don't worry. That so-and-so Grandmaster won't really charge you 100,000 gold coin. 5,000 is enough." Ning Chuan, 5,000 is not enough, Dao Ji, you have to lend me more. Dao Ji hesitated for a moment. "All right, I'll give you 10,000 for your teacher's sake." Dao Ji opened the office drawer, which contained gold cards with denominations of 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000. He took out a 10,000 gold coin card from it. I won't say anything more. Remember to repay the money on time. Only 10,000 is not enough. Ning Chuan. Dao Ji, I might as well sign a contract to sell myself. Lend me a little more. I want to buy another storage spirit tool for my teacher. If it's 10,000 gold coin plus a storage spirit tool, I believe Grandmaster will definitely accept me as a disciple. Contract of selling himself. Dao Ji's eyes lit up. His original intention was to lend money to the other party first and then collect the debt. If this kid couldn't pay it back, he could just sell him off. However, there would definitely be a lot of obstacles in the middle. After all, the dean of Noding Academy and those teachers were not vegetarians. All right, it's rare that you're so filial. This spirit tool ring can store a lot of things. Dao Ji will be a good person to the end today. I'll give you 90,000 gold coin for it. As Dao Ji spoke, he pulled out another drawer and took out a black gemstone ring from it. In fact, this ring was not worth 90,000 or even 9,000. It was just the lowest level storage spirit tool, and the space that could be stored inside was only 1 cubic meter. Chapter 11. Tang San was disliked by Xiao Wu. But Ning Chuan didn't care about that. He was eager to know more. Thank you, Brother Dao. But Brother Dao, it's not that I don't trust you, but look at this gold card. If a little kid like me were to hold a gold card, I doubt that master would believe me. Since I have a soul tool, how about we exchange this gold card for cash? You sly fox, fine, Brother Dao will grant your wish. Brother Dao had someone bring over a large box of gold soul coins. Thus, with both parties feeling they had made a huge profit, Ning Chuan signed a contract for 100,000 yuan, agreeing to repay the money within 7 days. Finally, he left the underground casino with a soul tool ring containing 10,000 gold soul coins. After receiving the money, Ning Chuan immediately purchased a batch of daily necessities, then had a big meal before returning to the academy. When he returned to the dormitory, it was already empty. Ning Chuan guessed that they had all gone to have dinner. I didn't pay any attention to it. He also didn't want to expose his soul tool. So he simply took out a new quilt from his soul tool and laid it out. Then he found a rope, hung the soul tool ring around his neck, and hid it in the collar of his clothes. Finally, after leaving dormitory 7, I arrived at the Dean of Students' office. The Dean of Students' office was in the center of the teaching building. The office was not large, only about 30 square meters, and the contents were very simple. Only one thing caught Ning Chuan's attention, a display case that occupied 2 walls and was filled with various swords. Louise was about to look at the new student information that Director Su had sent when she saw Ning Chuan come in. She was a little surprised and said, "You're that little brother from lunch today, right? What brings you here?" "Yes, sister, I want you to teach me swordsmanship." Ning Chuan revealed his purpose. Sword practice. Louise was somewhat surprised. She neither agreed nor refused outright, but instead said, "Summon your martial spirit and let me see it." Raising his right hand, without a word, Ning Chuan summoned his martial spirit, the azure bamboo bee cloud sword. Then he gripped it with both hands. He could now barely lift the 100-odd pounds of sword with both hands, but wielding it was still difficult. What a magnificent sword! Louise showed an expression of even greater surprise than Su Yuntao had shown her back then. "May I have your name?" "Ning Chuan." Upon hearing this, Louise quickly searched and soon found Ning Chuan's information. However, the content above made her frown. Because any soul master who reaches level 30 or above can sense fluctuations in soul power. Judging from the soul power fluctuations emanating from Ning Chuan, it is definitely far more than half a level. She couldn't believe that a child with only half a level of innate soul power could raise his soul power to this level in just 3 months. Furthermore, his martial spirit doesn't seem to be a bamboo sword. Rather, it seems to be some kind of extremely powerful artifact spirit. Faced with this artifact spirit, the dark fragrance soared within her body actually felt a slight pressure. This situation only occurs when a lower-level martial soul faces a higher-level martial soul. Why does your martial soul certificate say bamboo sword, and your innate soul power is only half a level? Ning Chuan had anticipated this. After all, there is never anything good in this world without a reason, and no one would value someone if they didn't show talent. I don't know why, but when Master Su Yuntao of the Spirit Hall awakened my spirit for me, I felt that my spirit was much heavier when I summoned it for the second time. Louise nodded. It seemed to be a mutated martial soul, and a mutated one at that. Although such cases were rare, they did exist. Then let's test the soul power again. As she spoke, she took out a crystal ball from the drawer to test soul power. Ning Chuan raised his hand and gently touched the crystal ball, which immediately lit up half of its surface. Level 5 innate soul power. Louise showed an expression of certainty and looked at Ning Chuan with more appreciation in her eyes. It seems that your martial soul has undergone a benign mutation. Can I practice swordsmanship with you in the future? Ning Chuan asked, feigning excitement. Of course, I can take some time in the afternoons to guide your cultivation in the future, but before that, I want to ask you a question. Would you be willing to become my disciple? Louise smiled gently. Although she couldn't compare to those top geniuses at Notting Academy, a level 5 innate soul power was already considered that of a minor genius. It was even better than her own talent back then. Disciple greets master. Ning Chuan cupped his hands in a fist salute. He wasn't averse to the question of whether or not to take a master, and he didn't care about the ridiculous rule in Douluo Continent that a person can only have one master in their lifetime. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba, because he is destined to have many teachers in the future. If I really suffer any scorn, I can just pass on the negative effects to that scoundrel. Or perhaps when he becomes powerful, who will dare to gossip? Very good. From now on, you are my disciple, Louise. Now I will formally teach you how to meditate to improve your soul power. This is a soul power meditation method that my dark fragrance sword family has spent hundreds of years researching and summarizing. It is very suitable for the cultivation of sword martial soul masters. I will also give you this storage soul tool belt. It has 3 space gems embedded in it, each with a storage space of 3 cubic meters. Louise presented her with her gift. This made Ning Chuan, who had touched her butt earlier, feel a little embarrassed. After leaving the dean's office, Ning Chuan went straight back to his dormitory. Everyone else has returned, including Xiao Wu and Tang San. To Ning Chuan's surprise, perhaps because Tang Buddha had become Tang Black Charcoal, and his body was gradually turning into Wu Dalang due to Ning Chuan's reckless actions, Tang San, although he had become familiar with Xiao Wu, did not put their beds together or share a blanket. On the contrary, Ning Chuan's own quilt was requisitioned by Xiao Wu. What do you mean? Ning Chuan raised an eyebrow. Is this bedding yours? Xiao Wu asked, clutching the bedding in her hands, a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. Ning Chuan, what do you think? Xiao Wu looked Ning Chuan up and down. Although this guy had an annoying temper and had injured her face, in terms of appearance, figure, and temperament, he was undoubtedly the most pleasing to the eye among all the men in the entire 7th dormitory, and even the entire Notting Academy. Tang San, sitting on the opposite bed, was taken aback. He realized that Xiao Wu probably had her eye on Ning Chuan's bedding. Not wanting to put a girl like Xiao Wu in a difficult position, he quickly said, "Xiao Wu, why don't you use mine? I'll go ask my teacher for a solution." The other quick-witted students, wanting to curry favor with Xiao Wu, hurriedly said, "Sister Xiao Wu, take mine. Let's make do and sleep together." Xiao Wu looked at the bedding of the work-study students. Although it wasn't exactly dirty, most of it was tattered. As for Tang-san, although his blanket was new, looking at his face and his somewhat disproportionate physique, Xiao Wu felt uncomfortable sleeping on a mattress that such an ugly person had lain on, even though he gave her an extremely strong sense of kinship. However, in terms of appearance, it was ultimately a bit of an eyesore, which deducted a lot of points. Chapter 12, Brother Dao Comes to Collect Debt. Her gaze fell on Ning Chuan, a sweet smile spreading across her face. I apologize for what happened before. From now on, you don't have to call me Sister Xiao Wu anymore. How about we talk about something?" Just then, a teacher in his 30s walked in from outside. "Ning Chuan, come here for a moment." "Teacher Mohan." Ning Chuan turned around and saw the familiar dormitory supervisor, Mohan, who had given Tang-san a quilt in the original story. At this moment, the supervisor was holding a quilt and pillow in one hand, a wash basin filled with toiletries in the other, and a bucket hanging from his wrist. Mohan said, "These are the bedding and some other daily necessities given to you by the head of the teaching department." The bedding was quite luxurious, and as soon as Ning Chuan received it, a faint, pleasant fragrance wafted from it. There was also a pillow and some toiletries. It seemed the other party had taken into consideration that he was a work-study student, and had it prepared as soon as he left the dean's office. After Mohan left, adhering to the principle that even if he didn't take Xiao in, he shouldn't let Tang-san benefit from her, and to prevent Xiao and Tang-san from sharing a quilt like in the original story, he said indifferently, "I already have a new one. If you really like this quilt, I'll give it to you." Xiao Wu had no idea what Ning Chuan was thinking. She only thought he was a cold-faced but warm-hearted person. She had originally wanted to suggest that they share a blanket, but she was suddenly moved, and her eyes welled up with tears. In her entire life, apart from her mother and Da Ming and Ming, Ning Chuan was the first person to treat her so well. "Let me make your bed." She wiped away her tears and was about to go forward to make a quilt for Ning Chuan, but she refused. "No need, I can do it myself. Then I'll organize these daily necessities for you." Ning Chuan was slightly taken aback by Xiao Wu's fawning manner. Goodness, could this rabbit have misunderstood something? "Speaking of which, Ning Chuan, I heard that the new dean of students in our college is a great beauty. Why is she being so nice to you and giving you so many things?" "He's my teacher. That won't be a secret in the future anyway." Tang-san watched the two chatting, feeling a mix of emotions, as if he were drifting further and further away from what was most important to him. At that moment, he was heartbroken. The other students looked on with envy when they heard that Ning Chuan had become the head of the teaching department's disciple. This head of the teaching department was not even 30 years old, yet he already possessed a level approaching that of a soul master, making him the second strongest student at Nodding Academy. "Little Blackie, aren't you strong? Come help me move the bed." Just as Tang-san was feeling heartbroken, Xiao Wu looked at him. "My name is Tang-san, not Little Blackie. You've always been dark-skinned." Tang-san was speechless, but he couldn't refuse Xiao Wu's request, so he obediently stepped forward to help. However, he soon felt even more heartbroken, because Xiao Wu asked him to move his bed not to any other place, but to the one next to Ning Chuan's. Ning Chuan ignored them and sat cross-legged on the couch, beginning to meditate and cultivate according to Professor Louise's method to improve his soul power. Early in the morning, While most of the teachers and students of Nodding Academy were still asleep, Ning Chuan had already opened his eyes, exited his cultivation state, and ran to the playground to begin his daily exercise. Tang San also left the dormitory at the same time. He had arranged to go with Yu Xiaogang to obtain their first spirit ring today. Yu Xiaogang glanced at Ning Chuan, who was doing push-ups on the playground with a large rock on his back, and said to Tang San earnestly, "Xiao-san, you're still young. Don't follow his example. Training like that will only ruin your foundation. Besides, you're just a piece of trash with half a level of innate soul power. No matter how much you train, you'll never be able to break through level 30. Yu Xiaogang didn't say the last sentence. "I understand, teacher." Tang San believed Yu Xiaogang's words without a doubt. As the sun gradually rose from the east, Ning Chuan, who had stopped cultivating, was almost completely drenched in sweat. However, thanks to Tang Rishan, who acted as his power bank, he did not feel tired at all and remained energetic. He took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and began his day's classes. There are 2 classes in the morning, one for cultural knowledge and the other for martial arts. He also used his spare time to meditate on his soul power. During lunch break, I quickly finished my food and then read for an hour to learn about the spirit beasts of this world and how to determine their age. In the afternoon, he went to the small woods behind the academy to practice swordsmanship with Louise. Louise's teaching method was also very simple and direct. She would first have him practice sword-wielding movements for an hour and then put him into actual combat. As time went by, Louise became increasingly satisfied with her disciple. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. He has a very good physique, great perseverance, and is not afraid of hardship or injury. Days passed by. The entrance to Nottingham College became lively that day. It turned out that several henchmen of Brother Dao from the underground casino in Notting City blocked Tang San at the school gate. Tang San had just returned from hunting spirit rings and was on his way to the spirit hall to collect his spirit master subsidy. They wanted to capture him and take him back to pay off his debts. Who knew that Tang San had already become a soul master? Not only did these underlings fail to capture him, they were also severely punished. Enraged, Brother Dao led over 100 of his henchmen to seek revenge. Among them were several soul masters, and Dao Ji himself was able to become the head of the underground casino by being a level 43 battle soul master. Such a commotion naturally attracted the attention of the dean of Notting College and Louise, the head of academic affairs, and other teachers. At this moment, the 2 groups are facing off. Although Dao Ji's side has the advantage in numbers, they dare not make any rash moves because more than a dozen people from Notting Academy, including the dean and the head of teaching, are soul masters. Dean Gino of Notting Academy questioned, "Old Knife, what exactly do you want with so many people you've brought to Notting Academy?" Dao adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, looking at the other person with a mocking and sarcastic gaze. "What do you mean? What are you doing? Tang San from your academy owes me money and hasn't paid it back, and he even injured my underling. Do you think my threat to take your life is just for show?" 4 spirit rings, 1 white, 2 yellow, and 1 purple, slowly rose from beneath his feet, and a snow-white scimitar appeared in Brother Dao's hand. "You're talking nonsense. When did my disciple ever owe you money?" Yu Xiaogang emerged from the crowd. He had also been drawn by the commotion, but because he had been poisoned by the venom of the Datra snake while hunting spirit rings for Tang San, he was still somewhat weak. Chapter 13, Tang San's Despair. Dao Ji sneered and took out the indenture contract that Ning Chuan had signed back then. "You must be that so-called master. Your good disciple borrowed 100,000 gold soul coins from me at exorbitant interest rates in order to give you gifts, and get you to take him as your disciple." These words caused an uproar. No one expected that this fraudulent master would not only trick Tang San into becoming his disciple, but also deceive him into taking out high-interest loans to satisfy his own selfish desires. He was simply misleading people. There must be some misunderstanding here. Yu Xiaogang glanced at the contract and almost fainted. It had Tang San's signature and fingerprint on it. So much money, even if Xiao San had borrowed it, he couldn't afford to pay it back, let alone with such high interest rates. Unless he went back to the Blue Lightning Tyrant sect to get the money, but that would be worse than killing him. Under the influence of the god-level side effect system, Dao Ji and his cronies were convinced that Tang San was the one demanding repayment. They even made Tang San the one who signed the contract, ignoring what Yu Xiaogang said. He then turned his gaze to Dean Nodding Academy. "He, Dean Gino, you know my habits. If no one pays my debt, I'll sell him to pay it off." "Master, did your disciple lend him the money or not?" Dean Gino of Nodding Academy looked at Yu Xiaogang with a helpless expression. The other party had a contract in hand, and his underground casino had intricate connections with the nobles of the Heavenly Dew Empire, so there was nothing he could do. "No, absolutely not. Knowing Xiao San's character, if I borrowed money from him, I would definitely tell me. Besides, Xiao San has spent most of his time with me since he enrolled in school, and I took him on a soul hunting trip a few days ago. How could I borrow money from him? He wouldn't need that much money anyway." Yu Xiaogang quickly denied it. Dean Gino took a deep breath. "All right, I believe you. Director Su, go and call Tang San here personally to compare the notes and fingerprints. If the money was indeed borrowed by Tang San, Nodding Academy will no longer interfere in this matter." The last sentence was addressed to Brother Dao. "All right, I'm not afraid of you reneging on your debt," Brother Dao said. A moment later, Tang San was called over by Director Su. "Teacher, Dean." "Xiao San, are you sure you can handle this?" Yu Xiaogang looked at Tang San with concern. "Don't worry, teacher. Heaven is watching what people do." In Tang San's mind, Dao Ji and his group were already labeled as people who were courting death. Not only did they not ask why, but they also sent people to block him and even cause trouble at the academy. They were already courting death. "Enough with the nonsense, kid. Sign your name and put your fingerprint on this paper. Let me tell you, even if you can fake your signature, you can't fake your fingerprint unless you're willing to chop off both of your hands." Brother Dao sneered and had someone bring over white paper and red clay. They were seasoned veterans. To prevent debtors from denying their debts, they made the debtors stamp their fingerprints on both hands. Soon, Tang San wrote his name on the paper and stamped it with his fingerprint. He did not tamper with it in any way because he knew that he had never borrowed money from them. Dao Ji took the paper, glanced at it briefly, and then compared it with the contract Ning Chuan had signed that day with the paper Tang San had just signed. The result was without a doubt that the signatures and fingerprints on them were exactly the same. It's true, Tang San really did borrow money from loan sharks. Not to mention others, even Tang San himself was taken aback. Then he flew into a rage, his eyes bloodshot, and he gasped, "It's all fake. It's all fake. You framed me. I want you all dead." As he spoke, he raised his hand and fired a silent dart from his sleeve at Brother Dao. Caught off guard, Brother Dao was nearly killed by an arrow to the throat. However, as a soul master, he managed to turn his head and narrowly avoid the hidden arrow at the critical moment. But his underlings behind him were not so lucky and were shot through the head. "You little rascal, if I catch you today, I'll skin you alive." Realizing what was happening, Dao Ji was both shocked and furious. He swung his sword at Tang San, but missed. Tang San knew he was no match for Dao Ji and tried to use ghost shadow steps to escape. However, he was surrounded by Dao Ji, a soul master, and hundreds of his underlings from the underground casino, including several soul masters. Even if he had wings, he would have a hard time escaping. He barely managed to dodge the first 2 attacks, but the third was unavoidable no matter what he did. He was being held down by the 2 powerful soul masters beside Brother Dao. At this moment, Tang San felt as if he had returned to ghost sorrow. The scene now was so similar to the one in his previous life when he was forced to jump off ghost sorrow. Just as the blade was about to strike Tang San, at this critical moment, Yu Zaya Agang's voice rang in everyone's minds. Enough. What, old man, are you going to stand up for your disciple? Brother Dao stopped his slashing motion and placed the gleaming blade against Tang San's neck. Yu Zaya Agang said, "That's right, I'll pay this money for him." He had made up his mind. Going home was out of the question, but he could go to Wuhan City to find Bibai Dong. Although he had sworn never to see that woman again, for the sake of his disciple Tang San, he had no choice but to swallow his pride and go to see her. You can also ask the other party how to overcome the difficulties of having twin martial souls. What gives you the right? Brother Dao questioned. Just based on this. Yu Zaya Agang hesitated for a moment, then took out a long sealed blue token from his storage soul tool. It was engraved with a blue thunder dragon. This was the identity token of the blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family disciple. Although he was expelled from the family, the token was not taken back. Dao Ji's eyes narrowed slightly, a look of apprehension on his face. So you're from that family. Fine, I'll give you that face. Let's go. With that, amidst the surprised gazes of everyone, Brother Dao left Tang San behind and led his men away in a grand procession. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Teacher? Tang San's eyes were already red at this moment, not only because he was moved, but also because he had been wronged. Tang San is an extremely fragile person, or in the traditional sense, someone with a fragile heart. It's a miracle that you didn't burst into tears on the spot after suffering such a great injustice. Don't say anything more, mistress. Your teacher believes you. Yu Zaya Agang patted Tang San's head. What a beautiful picture of fatherly love and filial piety. No, it should be teacherly love and filial piety. Ning Chuan sighed inwardly, but this could be considered a good deed, as it both tricked Tang San and rid the people of a great scourge. Dao Ji and his gang have been operating in the underworld of Nottingham for many years. They've harmed countless people, and now that Tang San has been so wronged, Tang Rishan behind them certainly won't let them off the hook. Chapter 14 is finally level 10. As Ning Chuan had predicted, that very night, Tang Rishan went to the underground casino and first questioned who had ordered them to frame his son. After failing to get an answer, he directly killed everyone in the underground casino, including Brother Dao. It wasn't until the next morning that it was discovered by gamblers who went to the casino, and the story spread. Yu Zaya Agang, who was buying dry rations in the bustling city on his way to Wuhan City, breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing the news. Now that the underground casino had been destroyed, he no longer needed to make a special trip to Wuhan City. The lending turmoil has passed. Nottingham has returned to peace. Ning Chuan wasn't the kind of person who was idle and liked to cause trouble. Apart from the time he tricked Yu Zaya Agang, the other times he caused trouble was to solve his own current problems and cause trouble on the side. Now that he lacks nothing, he naturally won't waste time cultivating anymore. And so, Ningxuan began to lead a fulfilling life. Every morning, I would get up and train my body like crazy. In the morning, I would attend classes as usual and use my spare time to meditate and improve my soul power. In the afternoon, I would go to the small woods behind the academy to practice swordsmanship and engage in combat training with Louise. In the evening, I would read books and meditate to improve my soul power. Although I had less time to meditate and improve my soul power, compared to when I was in Emperor Soul Village because of studying cultural knowledge and practicing swordsmanship. I could say that every day was extremely fulfilling. However, Tang Rishan, the power bank, also gained a breather. Otherwise, if Ningxuan continues to build at the same reckless pace as before, it might be doomed in just a few years. Under Louise's guidance, Ningxuan learned her swordsmanship in a very short time and even surpassed her. Of course, although she came from a family of soul masters with sword spirits, her swordsmanship was only so-so, relying more on soul skills. So later, he simply sought out other teachers for practical lessons. During this time, Xiao Wu also tried to spar with him, but each time she either couldn't find Ningxuan or was stood up. Before we knew it, a school year had almost passed. Through diligent daily training, Ningxuan finally raised his soul power to level 10. Xiao, you really are a genius. You've raised your soul power to level 10 so quickly. Even if those two people from the academy who are born with full soul power were to cultivate, I'm afraid they wouldn't be able to compare. Louise exclaimed in admiration as she held Ningxuan's fair and bouncy little face in her arms. Louise started calling him that after she took him as her disciple. Although Ningxuan didn't like this nickname, this would remind him of some disgusting guy. Sensing Louise's fragrance and softness, Ningxuan's cheeks flushed slightly. Teacher, please just call me Ningxuan, or Xiao Liu Zai is fine too. That's what everyone in our village calls me. He's shy. Our little Chuan is shy. Hearing this, Louise rubbed Ningxuan's face even more vigorously. After a while, she finally let Ningxuan go and said seriously, Xiao Chuan, have you decided what soul ring to attach to your first martial soul? Ningxuan replied without hesitation, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Although my martial soul is a sword, it contains the wood attribute, so I want to find some plant-type soul beasts. So far, he hasn't found any lightning attribute on the green bamboo bee-cloud sword, let alone the evil-repelling divine lightning that can restrain evil magic and demonic arts. At the same time, the evil-repelling divine thunder itself also contains powerful destructive force and explosive effect. If we could obtain this, it would definitely be a powerful weapon against those with evil attribute martial souls, soul skills, or soul bone skills. It is especially effective against domains like the God of Slaughter domain, which are essentially the same as demonic arts. Can you tell me why? Louise asked, somewhat surprised. Over the past year, I've read many books given to me by my teachers and consulted materials in the academy library. I've discovered that the improvement of a martial soul is essentially a process of increasing energy. If one absorbs energy of the same attribute as their own martial soul, it will inevitably promote the evolution of the martial soul. Conversely, it's easy for the spirit ring to reject the other type. For example, if you let a plant-type martial soul absorb an animal-type spirit ring, it will cause a rejection. This is also why plant-type spirit masters have rarely absorbed animal-type spirit rings since ancient times. Ningxuan rambled on, recounting some theories he had gleaned from the old scoundrel King Zhao's book in his previous life. All of this was to persuade Louise to let him absorb a higher-age spirit ring. As for spirit ring rejection, with his god-level side effect system, he could ignore all side effects. After Ningxuan finished speaking, Louise herself was already stunned. Ningxuan, what's wrong, teacher? It's nothing, just do as you say. Louise shook her head. Suddenly, she realized that she seemed to have really taken in an extraordinary disciple. Not only had he surpassed her in swordsmanship in a short period of time, but his theories on soul masters were also quite original. Compared to her disciple, Yu Xiaogang, That bullshit master who made his disciple borrow money from loan sharks was far inferior. The only thing she can do to help him now is to hunt for soul rings for him. Ning Chuan. Okay, teacher, when do we set off? The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Louise. Although the Academy's annual unified hunt for spirit rings is just a few days away, it's better to be early than late. We'll set off tomorrow morning, but we still need to report to the dean. A moment later, the two arrived at the dean's office. Yu Zaya Agang was there as well, seemingly chatting and drinking tea with Dean Gino. Of course, Yu Zaya Agang couldn't stop talking about Tang-san, indirectly boasting about his theories. Director Louise, is there anything I can help you with? Geno asked. Louise glanced at Yu Zaya Agang with disgust, then said seriously, Dean, my disciple Ning Chuan has broken through to level 10, and I plan to take him to the soul hunting forest to obtain his first soul ring. You've broken through to level 10 so quickly. Director Louise, it seems you've taken on a good disciple. Gino knew that Louise had taken Ning Chuan as her disciple. Not only did he know, but the entire Academy's teachers and students knew. However, many people didn't understand why Louise, who was under 30 and possessed level 37 soul power, would take someone with only half a level of innate soul power as her disciple. Even if Ning Chuan works very hard, hard work can't make up for the lack of talent. Ning Chuan has now raised his soul power to level 10 in just one academic year, which is enough to shut everyone up. Upon hearing this, Yu Zaya Agang also cast a curious glance at her. It's all thanks to his own hard work. All right, Dean, if there's nothing else, let's get going. Zaya Chuan, let's go. Because Yu Zaya Agang was there, Louise didn't want to stay any longer. She said goodbye to the dean and left with Ning Chuan. After Louise left, Yu Zaya Agang frowned and said, Dean, I remember that child was only at half a level of innate soul power. How did he manage to reach level 10 in such a short time? Chapter 15, First Soul Ring. He suspected that Louise had given Ning Chuan a drug with severe side effects. Otherwise, the other party's cultivation speed couldn't have been so fast. It had already surpassed that of Xiao Wu and her disciple Tang San, both of whom possessed innate full soul power. I don't know, but I trust Director Louise, and that child's hard work is evident to all. Dean Gino had no doubts, assuming that Ning Chuan had cultivated diligently on his own, with the added benefit of Louise's special guidance. Upon hearing this, Yu Zaya Agang not only did not believe it, but became even more suspicious, because he was also a half-level innate soul power and knew just how difficult it was to cultivate this damned talent and how difficult it was to improve soul power. It was no exaggeration to say that it was as slow as a snail's pace. There's definitely something fishy going on, and the most likely explanation is that Louise gave Ning Chuan drugs. It must be due to the use of drugs. Sooner or later, he will be stuck at level 29 and unable to make any progress. It's even questionable whether he can become a great soul master. He won't go far and can't compare to Xiao-san at all. Thinking of the beating Louise gave him back then, and Ning Chuan's talent being the same as his own, Yu Zaya Agang comforted himself with this feeling of imbalance. That afternoon, Louise took Ning Chuan to buy some wilderness survival supplies. The next morning, the two rented a carriage and set off. After a day and a night, they finally arrived at the Soul Hunter Forest on the morning of the third day. Plant-type soul beasts are not hard to find. Because plant-type soul beasts were unable to move when they reached the age of 10,000 years ago. Normally, they are hidden deep in the jungle, indistinguishable from ordinary vegetation, and are difficult to identify without the ability to sense soul power fluctuations. Led by Louise, Ning Chuan searched along the denser areas of the Soul Hunter Forest and finally stopped under a large tree. This sacred tree of soul power is over 600 years old. Xiao Chuan, do you really want to absorb it? The two stopped 10 feet away from the tree. Louise looked at the soul power sacred tree in front of her and couldn't help but show a worried expression. In the jungle, a robust banyan tree stood there, its appearance no different from any other large tree. If it weren't for the strong soul power fluctuations emanating from it, Louise would not have been able to recognize it. Normally, a soul power sacred tree that is over 10 meters tall is a 100-year-old soul beast. For every meter it grows above 10, it is 100 years old. This soul power sacred tree is over 15 meters tall. In other words, this sacred tree of soul power is at least 600 years old. Ning Chuan said, "Teacher, do you remember what I told you before? The absorption period of a spirit ring is related to the physical strength of the spirit master. In the past year, I have never given up physical training. In addition, this spirit power sacred wood is the gentlest spirit beast, and it is also of the same wood attribute as my green bamboo bee-cloud sword. It is extremely compatible, and there will be no rejection of the spirit ring. I am confident." On the way here, Ning Chuan spent a lot of time explaining to Louise the theoretical knowledge of soul masters he had learned in his previous life, all in order to persuade her to allow him to absorb a soul ring beyond his age limit. There was no one to help him hunt higher-age soul beasts or provide him with a great vengeful spirit to transfer the side effects. That's why he chose this 600-year-old tree. Otherwise, he would have absorbed a spirit ring that was over 10,000 years old long ago. However, getting 100-year soul ring and 2,000-year soul rings in the early stages is enough for him to use and show off. At worst, we can find a way to destroy the spirit ring later and transfer the side effects to the Tang family father and son. In any case, it's quite simple to destroy a spirit ring. Almost every spirit master can do it. The difficulty lies in the fact that once destroyed, it's often impossible to restore, let alone reabsorb it. Unless there is a secret technique for exploding rings like the Haitian sect, or those shameless false gods in the god realm intervene. Ning Chuan possesses a god-level side effect system, so he can change his soul ring whenever he wants. He just needs to carefully select the person to replace it. After all, a side effect can only be assigned to one object to bear. That's true, but... Upon hearing this, Louise wanted to say something more, but seeing Ning Chuan's resolute eyes, she ultimately chose not to dissuade him. Because Ning Chuan's physique is indeed very strong. Over the past few days, her understanding of the soul master theory has completely won her over. Most importantly, in just one academic year, or 9 months, he raised his soul power from level 5 to level 10, all while balancing sword practice and academic studies. This is a miracle. She had no reason to refuse. With a surge of pink light in her right hand, Louise summoned a dark red rapier and charged towards the soul power sacred tree. 100 years ago, the soul power sacred tree had no offensive capabilities and could only rely on disguising itself as an ordinary tree to evade the hunting of soul masters. Once a century has passed, it can extend its branches to bind and restrain enemies, thus acquiring a certain level of offensive capability. By the millennium, their attack power had increased further. After 10,000 years, they can move short distances by wriggling their roots. Furthermore, their branches and trunks possess regenerative abilities. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. At 50,000 years old, it's practically indistinguishable from other 50,000-year-old animal-type spirit beasts and possesses extremely strong area of effect attacks. Even among 50,000-year-old spirit beasts, it's an incredibly terrifying existence. However, there are almost no sacred trees with soul power exceeding 50,000 years. At least Ning Chuan has never seen one in the books given by Louise or in the Notting Academy Library. The sacred tree before her was over 600 years old. The moment Louise approached, its branches, each as thick as an adult's arm, coiled towards her like venomous snakes, attempting to bind her. Unfortunately, against Louise, a high-level soul master with an agility-based attack style and a sword-wielding martial soul, he was utterly useless. In a short while, the soul power sacred tree was cut down, leaving only a bare trunk. "Are you sure everything's okay?" After doing all this, Louise did not retract her martial spirit. Instead, she stood aside, looking at Ning Chuan with worry, her charming face filled with trepidation and unease. "Teacher, I trust my judgment. Please protect me." Reaching the soul power sacred tree, Ning Chuan summoned the azure bamboo bee cloud sword, gripped the hilt with both hands, and poured all his soul power into it. Instantly, the small sword, originally only the size of a palm, grew to a full 3 feet long, and then he swung it fiercely. Bang! The tree, nearly a person's embrace in size, was cut in half by Ning Chuan. Faint yellow light gathered above the stump, forming a yellow halo. Ning Chuan sat down cross-legged, right there next to the yellow halo. With his eyes closed, guided by his soul power, the soul ring was gradually absorbed into his body. Since the soul power sacred tree is a relatively gentle soul beast, and Ning Chuan's martial soul, the azure bamboo bee cloud sword, possesses wood attributes, and he had trained it relentlessly for a year, coupled with the various side effects he had experienced on Tang Hao. The absorption of the soul ring from this over 600-year-old soul power sacred tree proceeded relatively smoothly, without any adverse reactions. At most, during the absorption process, one will continuously feel their own soul power approaching saturation. But that's all. Whenever his meridians can't take it anymore, the side effects caused by the swelling and pain are transferred to the old Mouse Chapter 17 sword light. These past few years must have been increasingly difficult for the old rat. He must be suffering terribly. In this respect, even Douluo Bo, who was poisoned by his own martial soul, might not be as good as him. "My soul power is at level 13, not bad." Ning Chuan smiled and slowly opened his eyes. A fragrant breeze wafted over, and Louise rushed up to him with excitement and anticipation, hugging Ning Chuan's face and showering him with kisses, leaving bright red lip prints on his face. While kissing him, she exclaimed in admiration, "Xiao Chuan, you're amazing. You actually managed to absorb this 600-year-old soul ring. Let me see your martial soul." "This devil," Ning Chuan muttered to himself, slowly raising his right hand. A faint blue light appeared on his skin, and the 3-foot-long green bamboo bee cloud sword emerged. A clear yellow halo rose from beneath his feet, a distinctive feature of a first-ring soul master. Compared to before, the green bamboo bee cloud sword had not changed much, but the oppressive aura it brought was incomparable. Louise vaguely felt that the pressure from the green bamboo bee cloud sword's martial spirit, the dark fragrance sword, seemed to be even stronger. Louise had seen Ning Chuan's green bamboo bee cloud sword martial soul before and sensed the changes in it. She couldn't wait to ask, "What kind of soul skill did you acquire?" "First soul skill, sword aura." Ning Zhuang turned around and came to an area a few feet away from Louise. His first soul ring lit up, and without any warning, he raised his hand and released a cyan sword light that was about 10 feet long. He spun around and suddenly slashed, cutting all the trees within a 10-foot radius in half. Can you unleash a soul skill without a martial soul? For a 600-year-old soul skill, this power is fairly average. After all, as far as she knows, the green bamboo bee cloud sword is an extremely powerful mutated martial soul with its own attack power. However, The fact that it can unleash a soul skill without needing a martial soul is quite surprising to her. Well, my first soul skill can be used in two ways. One is without using the martial soul, and the other is with the martial soul. When not using the martial soul, its power is relatively average, but it can be cast instantly. The other way is with the martial soul, like this. The first spirit ring lit up again, and Ning Chuan gripped his sword with both hands, swinging it sharply forward. The sword light was dazzling, transforming into a giant cyan light sword that slashed forward. A shallow trench, about 5 or 6 meters long and 1 foot deep, was instantly cut into the ground. At the end, a granite slab about half a person's height split in two and then exploded with a loud bang. Oh my God! Louise was so shocked that her face turned pale. If Ning Chuan's first soul skill was only mediocre for a 600-year-old soul skill, its strength lay in its instantaneous activation. Then this move is somewhat defying the heavens. Ning Chuan's first soul skill seems to be even stronger than her second soul skill. Although she's an agility-based attacker, and her attack power isn't particularly outstanding compared to other soul masters of the same level, and her second soul ring is only 500 years old, she's still a level 38 soul master. P.S. Her soul power also increased by 1 level during this year. Logically speaking, even if Ning Chuan's first spirit ring reached 600 years, it shouldn't be possible. The only problem must lie with the martial soul. This indicates that Ning Chuan's azure bamboo bee-cloud sword is an extremely powerful mutated martial soul, perhaps even stronger than the 7-kill sword of the soon.Douluo of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Putting away his martial spirit, Ning Chuan said, "Teacher, this is my first soul skill, Sword Aura. When using my martial spirit, my attack range increases by 50% and my soul power doubles. Furthermore, the attack range increases with my cultivation level." Louise nodded first, then gave a wry smile. "A very powerful soul skill, with both attack and amplification. I have nothing more to teach you now. The only thing I can do is accompany you in practical training and hunting for soul rings." Ning Chuan said firmly, "Teacher, no matter what, you will always be my teacher." At first, Ning Chuan may have had some ulterior motives, but people are not plants or trees. How can they be without feelings? He had seen how good Louise had been to him throughout the academic year, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he treated her like his own daughter. Although Ning Chuan isn't a good person, he would never be ungrateful. Nor would he play the more detestable game of a little kindness is appreciated, but too much kindness breeds resentment. Louise smiled with satisfaction and casually asked, "How much soul power do you have now?" "Level 13, Ning Chuan replied. "Not bad. Right now, you're only 3 soul power levels behind those 2 innate full soul power masters in our academy. At your current cultivation speed, I believe you'll catch up with them in a few years, or even surpass them." Louise had great confidence in Ning Chuan. As far as she knew, in the Academy's annual soul power test a few days ago, Xiao Wu and Tang San had only just broken through to level 16. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. After chatting for a while, the two ate some dry food and water on the spot, and then headed back. The next morning, the two finally returned to Nottingham. After acquiring a soul ring, a soul master can register at the Spirit Hall every month to receive a soul master subsidy. You can go there directly in a bit. Don't reveal the age of your soul ring. It's not good for you and will make you a target. Also, starting tomorrow is the Academy's annual holiday, which lasts for 3 months. If you miss home, you can go back. However, I still suggest you come back sooner. I plan to use this time to take you back to your family so that my elders can teach you. You have a strong learning ability, so you can't let it go to waste. And don't underestimate me just because my soul power isn't high. My father is a true soon.Douluo powerhouse. Louise intends to dedicate all her efforts to developing Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan nodded. I do plan to go back for a while. I'll be back in 3 days. He planned to give some gold soul coins to old Tom and repay the villagers who had helped him. It wouldn't cost much anyway. Ning Chuan also knew something about Louise's family. With a soon.Douluo at its helm, they were one of the few reclusive families on the Douluo Continent. Their ancestors had once been glorious, producing a title Douluo. As for why Louise came to Notting City to become the head of the teaching department, it wasn't because of any dramatic incident. It was simply because, relatively speaking, her talent wasn't very good. She was nearly 30 years old and hadn't broken through to the soul master level yet. If nothing unexpected happened, she would basically reach the soul emperor level in this lifetime. Unwilling to hastily marry, she simply ran away on her own and became the dean of students at Notting College. Ning Chuan felt he had struck gold. Long established, reclusive families like these usually possessed techniques similar to the Haitian sect's 9 absolute skills of the Haitian hammer and the 7 treasure glazed tile sect's distraction control method. The only question was whether they could master them. If he could learn some powerful sword techniques, it would be an absolute steel chapter. 18 Tang San gradually becomes a simp. After receiving the Soul Master subsidy, Ning Chuan returned to his dormitory. Thinking of Su Yuntao's ever-changing expressions back then, Ning Chuan, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed meditating, couldn't help but smile knowingly. He opened his eyes and saw that all the work-study students, including Tang San and Xiao Wu, had finished their classes and returned. Upon seeing Ning Chuan return, Xiao Wu seemed very excited and asked, Ning Chuan, I heard you went to obtain a spirit ring a few days ago. Is that true? Yes, Ning Chuan replied. So it's true. Come on, let's have a fight and let them test your soul skills. I'm not coming. How could this be? The students in dormitory 7 were already used to this kind of scene. Ever since Ning Chuan gave Xiao Wu a blanket, she had become attached to him. Xiao Wu, tomorrow is the start of your holiday. Are you going home? Tang San glanced at Ning Chuan, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed and ignoring Xiao Wu. Feeling jealous, he packed his things while talking to Xiao Wu. Due to the previous loan scandal, coupled with Tang San killing someone in public, almost everyone at Notting Academy kept their distance from him. This is precisely why, having lived 2 lives and lacking love since childhood, Tang San's feelings for Xiao Wu were even deeper than in the original story at the same time. This is because Xiao Wu was the only person besides Yu Xiaogang and his father who didn't look at him with strange eyes. Therefore, during this academic year, he took the initiative to get closer to Xiao Wu. Although their relationship was far from being as close as that of a brother and sister in the original story, they still became friends thanks to the affinity brought by the soul beast bloodline in their bodies. He basically gave Xiao Wu whatever she wanted. Whenever Xiao Wu runs out of her soul master allowance and wants to buy something, he will try his best to satisfy her with his soul master allowance and the money he earns from blacksmithing. This is where appearance becomes important. Because of Ning Chuan's relentless training that year, Tang San became even darker and uglier, and his height didn't increase much either. He was half a head shorter than Ning Chuan, who had just obtained his spirit ring, and Xiao Wu was also much taller than him. As a result, Xiao Wu didn't have very deep feelings for Tang San, only slightly stronger than Wang Sheng and others. This was because Tang San possessed the bloodline of a soul beast. Instead, Xiao Wu became interested in Ning Chuan, who had once given her a quilt and was fair-skinned and clean-looking. Although Ning Chuan still doesn't pay much attention to Xiao Wu, she will subconsciously defend him if Tang San speaks ill of Ning Chuan in private, as if she cares about him a lot. just a few days ago, his teacher, Yu Xiaogang, said that Ning Chuan must have taken some kind of drug with side effects to be able to reach level 10 so quickly. Tang San relayed these words to Xiao Wu, and also told Xiao Wu not to be with Ning Chuan in the future. Instead, Xiao Wu scolded his teacher, calling him a liar. This made Tang San, who originally wanted to avenge his teacher and take revenge on Ning Chuan, hesitate to act for fear of upsetting Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu leaned against the bed, a hint of loneliness in her eyes. "I'm not going home." Then she looked at Ning Chuan and asked, "Ning Chuan, are you going home?" "Go back." Ning Chuan naturally noticed Xiao Wu's subtle changes, but he remained cold and aloof. His reply was only a single word. There was nothing they could do. Tang Rishan was watching them from the shadows. And his cultivation is temporarily inseparable from Tang Rishan, his power bank. We can't kill him off so quickly. Therefore, the usual approach to Xiao Wu is to refuse her. This way, he won't feel any psychological pressure when he acquires the other person's spirit ring in the future. Of course, if the other party is willing to make a sacrifice, he wouldn't mind accepting it. After all, his goal has never changed from beginning to end. Xiao Wu's eyes suddenly lit up. "Ning Chuan, is your home not far from the academy? Why don't I go back with you to play? Anyway, Wang Sheng and the others have graduated, and Xiao Haizai is going back too. There's no one to play with me." "No way." Ning Chuan refused without hesitation. "How could you do this?" Xiao Wu seemed used to Ning Chuan's attitude, pouted in dissatisfaction, and turned to Tang San, saying, "Little Blackie, is your home far away?" Hearing that Xiao Wu was coming to his house, Tang San was overjoyed. He was already used to Xiao Wu calling him Little Blackie, and even considered it a sign of closeness, as only Xiao Wu would call him that. Tang San smiled and said, "It's not far, only half a day's journey, but my family is very poor and we don't have much to offer you." "Xiao Wu, I was asking how far your house is from Ning Chuan's house, so I can go visit him." Tang San's face immediately darkened. Good heavens, so going to his house was just a side trip. It turns out he still wanted to go to Ning Chuan's house after all. In the end, Tang San couldn't bear to lie to Xiao Wu and told her that it was only an hour's journey. Upon hearing this, Xiao Wu danced with excitement. However, deep down, Tang San didn't want Xiao Wu to go to Ning Chuan. He was thinking about how to divert her attention. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Looking at Tang San's appearance, which was comparable to Song Maobao's, Ning Chuan secretly sneered in his heart. Unknowingly, our Buddha Tang has gradually become a sycophant. The next morning, just as dawn was breaking, Ning Chuan left Nodding City and headed towards Emperor Soul Village. Apart from Tang San, who also got up early to cultivate the purple demon eye, no one was alerted. Because he didn't have to worry about consuming soul power and physical strength, Ning Chuan sprinted back at top speed. So he covered the distance that would normally take half a day in less than an hour. Isn't this Xiao Liuzi? Little Liu is back. He's grown so tall in just 1 year, and he's become even more handsome. As soon as he returned to the village, the familiar villagers greeted him warmly. Ning Chuan responded to each of these points. Soon, he saw old Tom and his 5 older brothers and sisters at home. This world is polarized. Ordinary people start families early, while soul masters start relatively late. Because they lacked soul power, they all got married in their teens. The whole family was overjoyed to learn that Ning Chuan had become a soul master, especially old Tom, whose previously hunched back straightened up immediately. Ning Chuan did not forget their past help. He gave gifts to almost everyone who had helped him. At the same time, Ning Chuan generously funded the construction of a road connecting Dai Hun village directly to the official road and built houses for every villager who had helped him. Not to mention old Tom and the 5 brothers and sisters who raised him. Ning Chuan truly experienced firsthand the feeling of returning home in glory. Of course, it wasn't his money that was spent, so there was no question of feeling bad about it. 3 days later, with everything prepared, the new rural construction of Daihun village officially began, and Ning Chuan was ready to leave. Unable to resist Xiao Wu's persistent pestering, Tang Sen brought her to Emperor Seoul Village Chapter 19, Douluo Continent version Class 7. Everything seemed to be back on track, and Tang Sen still recognized Xiao Wu as his younger sister. But it was different from the original story. Before Tang San's true appearance was awakened for the second time in the original novel, he was not exactly handsome, but he was still quite decent-looking. He's practically a reincarnation of Song Maobao now. It would be a miracle if Xiao Wu stuck with him like she did in the original story. The two were not as close as in the original story. Moreover, Xiao Wu came here specifically to get Ning Chuan to become sworn brothers with her, but unsurprisingly, she was rejected. He didn't want to have any interaction with Tang San, and Tang San probably felt the same way. The Yu Xia Agang incident was merely the trigger. The main issue was that Xiao Wu was closer to Ning Chuan than to Tang San. Even without Yu Xia Agang, Ning Chuan would have become jealous of Xiao Wu and gradually developed hostility towards her. Time flies like water, and 5 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Ning Chuan finally graduated from Notting College. The Kingdom of Barak, Soto City. Around noon, 3 people walked in through the west gate of Soto City. They looked to be only teenagers, 2 boys and 1 girl. The girl in the middle looked to be about 12 or 13 years old, over 1.7 meters tall, with fair and rosy skin, a beautiful face, and a near-perfect figure. Most striking were her long legs encased in white trousers. Any man who saw them would feel an urge to play with them for 6 months. The boy on the left was much taller than her, nearly 1.8 meters tall, with a slender figure, long legs, fair complexion, perfect posture, and extraordinary bearing. In comparison, the boy standing to the right of the girl looked rather shabby, much shorter than the other 2, not even 1.6 meters tall. It had thick, short limbs and was as black as a lump of charcoal. It was also somewhat hunchbacked, making it look exactly like a human-shaped black bear. If it weren't for the slight childishness on his face, anyone who didn't know better would think he was a middle-aged man in his 50s or 60s. The girl shrugged and complained weakly, "I'm so tired. Why didn't I go to the Advanced Soul Master Academy? Why did I go to that disgusting, lousy academy that doesn't even have a ranking system?" The dark-skinned boy smiled faintly and corrected, "It's Shrek Academy." "I don't care what college it is, I'm just tired," the girl said coquettishly. The dark-skinned boy asked expectantly, "How about I carry you on my back?" "I don't want to, I want Xiao Liuzi to carry me," the girl said, and was about to climb onto the handsome boy on her left. But the handsome young man seemed to have eyes in the side and avoided it in advance. He said expressionlessly, "If you want to carry it, let your good older brother carry it." The nickname, Little Six, was something he learned from the villagers of Daihun village. "Yes, Xiao Wu, how about I carry you on my back?" The charcoal-colored boy's tone was humble, and his smile was somewhat forced. These 3 were Xiao Wu, Ning Chuan, and Tang San, all from Notting Academy. Just like in the original story, after graduating from Notting Academy, Tang San still came to Soto City with Xiao Wu to prepare to enroll in Shrek Academy. The only slight difference is that Ning Chuan also came. Moreover, he came at Xiao Wu's invitation. It wasn't that Ning Chuan had developed any feelings for Xiao Wu. What truly interested him was Ning Rongrong, the kitten, and the 8 spider lances. One of them had a sword Douluo behind him and also possessed the distraction control technique, capable of providing Ning Chuan with relevant guidance. The other made Ning Chuan lust after her body. Naturally, he wouldn't miss such a beauty. He certainly wouldn't let that bastard Dai Mubai have her. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of time to come into this world? Besides the kitten, the 8 spider spears are also a must-see. Most importantly, he needs to find Shilake's group and become their scapegoat. That's the most crucial thing. Only by harming them can Ningxuan be free of psychological burden. Xiao Wu looked Tang San up and down again, her face full of resistance. I don't want to. Blackie is too short. If he carries me, my feet will drag on the ground. That would be more tiring. She pouted and said, changing the way she addressed him from third brother in the original story to black brother. Tang San's face darkened, his expression one of utter embarrassment. He didn't know why, even though he was perfectly normal before his martial soul awakened. But since awakening his martial soul, his skin has become increasingly dark, and he hasn't grown taller. Both he and Xiao Wu have level 29 soul power and have absorbed 200-year soul rings, but Xiao Wu is a full half-head taller than him. Ning Chuan is almost a head taller than him, and he's also growing sideways, with a lot of useless dead muscles on his body. As a result, Xiao Wu was closer to Ning Chuan than to him, her older brother. It was driving him crazy with frustration. Then go by yourself. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Ning Chuan ignored Xiao Wu and continued walking forward. But the more he did this, the more persistent Xiao Wu became. Then Tang San persisted in pursuing Xiao Wu. How should we describe the relationship between the 3 of them now? Tang San is attracted to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu is attracted to Ning Chuan, but Ning Chuan is indifferent, harboring his own pursuits. This is somewhat similar to the early stages of Naruto, specifically Team 7, which included Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. The reason for this was the betting Ning Chuan gave Xiao Wu, which led her to mistakenly believe that Ning Chuan was a cold-faced but warm-hearted person. She had always held onto a biased view of Ning Chuan. In addition, Ning Chuan's actions in building roads and houses for the villagers in Daihun village. This further confirmed Xiao Wu's viewpoint. Therefore, no matter how much Ning Chuan ignored her, Xiao Wu felt that Ning Chuan was cold on the outside but warm on the inside and not good at expressing himself. Because Tang San and Xiao Wu were siblings, Xiao Wu gradually took Tang San's kindness to her for granted. After all, it's normal for a brother to be kind to his sister, just like how the Titan giant ape and the Azure bull python were kind to her. This led to such a ridiculous scene. Tang San poured his heart and soul into Xiao Wu for 6 years, yet it was still less than a blanket that Ning Chuan casually gave him. It's because Tang San has been tortured by Ning Chuan for 6 years in a row, making him uglier and uglier. From the moment he became ugly, it was all destined. However, Xiao Wu's actions were not entirely fruitless. Ning Chuan was not truly heartless. He no longer desperately wanted Xiao Wu's soul rings and soul bones as he had at the beginning, after she had been fawning over him for 6 years. Soto City, one of the 2 major cities in the Kingdom of Barak, is much larger than the small border town near Notting City. The 3 of them found a small restaurant and had a simple meal. After the meal, Xiao Wu naturally had Tang San, her older brother, pay for her meal, while Ning Chuan paid for his own portion. And so, with Xiao Wu leading the way aimlessly, Ning Chuan followed them to the Rose Hotel from the original story. From beginning to end, he maintained the mindset of an observer. Chapter 20 Black Bear Roman 3. Tang-san walked to the counter and said, "Please give us 3 rooms." The waiter behind the counter stood up and looked at Ning Chuan beside him and Xiao Wu, who was sitting very close to him. A hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and then he revealed a half-smile. "I'm sorry, we only have 2 rooms left." 2 rooms? That works too. Tang-san was taken aback, thinking that 2 rooms would be enough. He could let Xiao Wu have a room by herself, and he would make do with Ning Chuan in 1 room. But the waiter's next words almost made Tang-san's eyes blaze with anger, and he gasped for breath. "Yes, there are only 2 rooms, but you can rest assured that our rooms are fully equipped, and the beds are big enough for your 2 companions to share a room." As he spoke, he gave Ning Chuan a knowing look. Ning Chuan was surprised to find himself being misunderstood as having an affair with this rabbit, and found it rather amusing. Before Tang-san could answer, Xiao Wu said casually, "Then let's have 2 rooms. Brother Hai, you can have 1 by yourself, and Xiao Liu and I can share 1. Anyway, we've always shared the same dormitory when we were at Notting Academy." "No, there must be 3 rooms. Xiao Wu, men and women should not be too close. You can't live together. Besides, we've already graduated and we're not at Notting Academy anymore." Tang-san sternly refused. When it comes to matters of principle, Tang-san will not budge an inch. Otherwise, what would happen if Ning Chuan and Xiao Wu were in the same hotel, a lone man and woman? Then he added, "Xiao Wu, how about this? Ning Chuan and I will share a room and you can have your own. Ning Chuan, what do you think?" The last sentence was addressed to Ning Chuan, and his tone seemed to carry a hint of warning. But Ning Chuan was not about to let this good-for-nothing have his way. "No need. I think Xiao Wu's suggestion is quite good." Upon hearing this, Xiao Wu felt numb, because this was the first time Ning Chuan had responded to her. "Ning Chuan." 5 years later, Xiao Wu called Ning Chuan's name again and looked at him with a lingering gaze. And so, Tang-san exploded. All I could see was a greenish tinge on my head. The anger in his heart surged up instantly, as if his wife had been stolen away. But Ning Chuan was clearly furious and said to the waiter, "Please give me these 2 rooms." "Ning Chuan," Tang-san gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to explode, a sudden voice came from outside. "You don't need to fight anymore. This house is all mine." The 3 of them looked towards the door at the same time and saw 3 people walk in. There was 1 man and 2 women. The women looked flamboyant, tall, and had similar appearances, seemingly twins. The man was slightly taller than Ning Chuan, at least 1. 8 meters tall, with broad shoulders, handsome features, and long blonde hair. What was most striking about him were his eyes, which had double pupils. "Dai Mubai." Ning Chuan narrowed his eyes slightly and quickly guessed his identity. "What's it to you?" Tang-san was already angry, so naturally he wouldn't give Dai Mubai a friendly look. To everyone's surprise, Dai Mubai suddenly laughed when he saw Tang-san. He looked him up and down and said, "I wonder if you're a kiln worker or a charcoal seller. You're really handsome with your dark skin. Maybe it's a bear that ran out from somewhere. Perhaps his martial soul really is a bear." The twins beside Dai Mubai laughed when they saw Tang-san's appearance. Tang-san's appearance was simply too comical. His physique and skin color made him look exactly like a bear. "You bastard." It is said that the more you lack something, the more you care about it. So far, Tang-san has 2 taboos, Xiao Wu and someone who says he is dark-skinned. Apart from Xiao Wu and his father Tang Hao, he will fight to the death with almost anyone who says he is dark-skinned. This moment is no exception. Hearing Dai Mubai and the other 2 accusing him of speaking ill of him in various ways, Tang-san became enraged. He could no longer control himself, his eyes turning bloodshot and his breathing becoming labored. He took a sudden step forward with his right foot, leaping 3 meters away, and threw a punch at Dai Mubai. The moment Tang San threw his punch, his hand instantly turned a translucent white. Good timing. In reality, Dai Mubai didn't come here for any room at all, but to fight. From the 3 people in front of him, he sensed strong soul power fluctuations, which were not much inferior to his own. In particular, the one who was fair-skinned and had a dignified appearance gave him the feeling that he was not much weaker than himself. Judging from the ages of the 3, apart from the one with the dark complexion in front of them, whose age is uncertain, the other 2 are definitely no more than 13 years old. Not even 13 years old, yet coming to Soto City at this time of year. Isn't this obviously to register for Shrek Academy? The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Therefore, the idea of testing the waters arose. Seeing Tang San's fist coming towards him, Dai Mubai's eyes flashed with evil light. He suddenly raised his right palm and charged forward to meet Tang San's fist head-on. With a muffled thud, Tang San's forward-rushing body staggered back 4 or 5 steps uncontrollably. Dai Mubai, on the other hand, didn't retreat an inch, but stared at his opponent in astonishment, feeling a splitting pain in his right hand, as if he had punched a bronze pillar. Tang San was also astonished. His fist contained the mysterious heaven skill, and his strength was not bad due to his years of blacksmithing work. In addition, with the characteristics of the mysterious jade hand, he was still repelled. Ning Chuan watched the duel between the 2 and thought to himself, to compete with a power-type soul master in strength, he truly lives up to the title of Tang Buddha. All right, you can take one of my punches, you've got some skill, but I'm not interested in you. What's your name, sir? How about we have a spar? Dai Mubai turned his gaze to Ning Chuan. Ning Chuan stepped forward and casually announced his name, Ning Chuan. He hadn't actually fought a battle in a while, but Dai Mubai was barely qualified. Dai Mubai raised an eyebrow with a wicked glint in his eye. All right, let's have a battle today, White Tiger Possession. A strong, pale white light suddenly erupted from his body. Dai Mubai straightened his chest, and his arms extended to both sides at the same time. His body suddenly doubled in size. In the blink of an eye, Dai Mubai was covered in white fur and transformed into an upright humanoid white tiger. At the same time, 3 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, quietly rose up. As the spirit rings swirled, surging spirit power formed a wave-like pressure that rushed towards them. A 1,000-year soul ring, Xiao Wu exclaimed, a hint of panic in her eyes. She wanted to step forward and fight alongside Ning Chuan, but Tang San stopped her. Don't worry, Xiao Wu, Ning Chuan can handle it. At this moment, Tang San had calmed down, but he was not optimistic about Ning Chuan. Like you, Xia Gang, Tang San also believed that Ning Chuan had taken drugs, which was why his soul power gradually caught up with his and Xiao Wu's. After all, how strong can someone with only half a level of innate soul power be? They can't even break through the level 30 bottleneck chapter 21 Ning Chuan vs Dai Mubai, seeking investment. On the contrary, if he could see Ning Chuan lose to this person, he would be happy to see it. In this way, after seeing the difference in their abilities, Xiao Wu might give up on him. Then, when he went up to deal with this person, without using hidden weapons or his second martial soul, even if he couldn't defeat him, he had more than a 50% chance of remaining undefeated. Dai Mubai, martial soul. White Tiger, level 37 power attack type battle soul master, please give me your guidance. Dai Mubai officially launched a challenge against Ning Chuan. Faced with Dai Mubai's challenge, Ning Chuan appeared very calm and composed. He calmly raised his right hand. A surge of azure light erupted, and a 3-foot-long emerald green sword was suddenly grasped in the hand. The moment the sword appeared, The air in the entire hotel lobby seemed to become oppressive, as if a huge, sharp sword were hanging overhead. Ning Chuan, Martial Soul, Bamboo Sword, Level 33 Battle Soul Venerable, please enlighten me. What a beautiful sword. Is this Xiao Liu's martial spirit? Xiao Wu's eyes lit up. This was the first time she had seen Ning Chuan release his martial spirit. Tang San frowned. This martial soul seemed different from before. It was no longer so good-looking but useless. Moreover, it had an indescribable feeling about it, as did its soul power. Level 33. How is that possible? Ning Chuan's innate soul power was only half a level. Didn't his teacher say that he would never be able to break through level 30 in his lifetime? Why did he break through and even surpass his own soul power? Even if that head of discipline, who can't distinguish right from wrong, gave him the drug, it shouldn't have worked so quickly. Ning Chuan, just how strong have you become now? Thinking of this, Tang San clenched his fists, his gaze fixed on Ning Chuan with his purple demon eyes already activated, and at this moment, he began to doubt himself. Dai Mubai nearly stumbled. You call this a bamboo sword? Anyone with eyes can see that this weapon spirit is extraordinary. If this is considered a bamboo sword, then what about the weapon spirits he has seen before? Bamboo sword is just an abbreviation for my martial spirit. Its full name is Azure Bamboo Becloud Sword. This was the first time Ning Chuan had publicly revealed the name of his martial spirit. And what about your spirit rings? Dai Mubai could sense that Ning Chuan's soul power had reached the soul master level, but he did not see the other party's soul rings. If you can force me to use my soul skill, I will let you know. Ning Chuan concealed his spirit rings. It wasn't difficult to do this, he just needed to master the trick. However, he couldn't yet achieve the same level of integration between his spirit rings and martial soul as he did in the original soon.Douluo. Therefore, he couldn't use spirit skills when concealing his spirit rings. What a fine green bamboo becloud sword. Let me experience the wonders of your martial spirit. Dai Mubai moved, his figure flashing to Ning Chuan's front, his two tiger claws simultaneously unleashing sharp blades, grabbing at Ning Chuan's body. When Dai Mubai's two tiger claws were blocked by Ning Chuan's sword with one hand, sparks flew everywhere. Ning Chuan swung his sword horizontally, sending Dai Mubai flying at an even greater speed than before. His strength is actually greater than mine. Dai Mubai's expression was even more surprised than when he had exchanged blows with Tang San earlier. At this moment, he felt a sharp pain in his palm, which had just come into contact with Ning Chuan's longsword. Fortunately, he had come into contact with the sharp blade on the tiger's claws when he touched the green bamboo becloud sword. Otherwise, he had no doubt that his tiger paws would have been cut. Buzz! A terrifying sword cry rang out, and Ning Chuan swung his longsword, dragging it along the ground as he charged towards Dai Mubai, who was flying backwards, in a zigzag pattern. So fast! Dai Mubai had barely landed and hadn't even regained his balance when he saw Ning Chuan rushing towards him. He didn't have time to make any other moves, so he could only subconsciously raise his two tiger claws and cross his arms. At the same time, his first spirit ring lit up, the yellow spirit ring shining brightly, forming a white light shield that enveloped his entire body. He planned to rely on his powerful soul force, using the tiger claw after the martial soul was attached to his body and his first soul skill, White Tiger Protective Barrier, to withstand Ning Chuan's attack. Clang! When Ning Chuan was about 5 steps away from Dai Mubai, he suddenly changed his sword stance, leaped high into the air, gripped the sword in the back of his hand, and slashed down. This is... Tang San was horrified, his eyes flashing with purple light, as if he had sensed the terror of Ning Chuan's sword strike. Bang! Dai Mubai's white tiger protective barrier was cleaved open, and the sword blade slashed at his arms. The sword energy, which was attached to his soul power, sent him flying against the wall. This is a move Ning Chuan developed based on his first soul skill, Sword Aura, which allows him to unleash sword energy before even making a move. With Tang Rishan acting as his power bank, he doesn't need to worry about misdirecting his soul power and causing himself harm during research. Although its power is only 1/3 of his first soul skill, it can be controlled freely, greatly enhancing his close combat abilities. How is this possible? Dai Mubai was shocked. He thought he had overestimated Ning Chuan's strength, but he never expected that the other party's strength was even more terrifying than he imagined. Moreover, he was able to unleash sword energy without relying on soul skills at the soul venerable stage. If he hadn't released the white tiger protective barrier just now, he has likely already suffered a severe injury from that one move. He didn't think his 2 tiger paws could withstand the opponent's green bamboo B-Cloud sword. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Ning Chuan wouldn't play any turn-based games with the other side, nor would he give them a chance to breathe. A cyan sword light, like flames, swirled around the azure bamboo B-Cloud sword. His sword aura was powerful, the cyan light dazzling, and his eyes reflected the cyan sword light. It seemed as if there were cyan flames dancing in his eyes. With each move, sand and stones flew and left ferocious sword marks on the ground. Third soul skill, White Tiger Vajra transformation. Having learned from the previous experience, Dai Mubai dared not hold back any longer. He unleashed his full soul power, reaching level 37, and his third soul ring lit up. His entire body was enveloped in a strong golden light, and his body suddenly swelled up. Even the sharp blades that flicked out from his 10 fingers turned silver. He instantly completed his second transformation. He swung his tiger claws, which were covered in silver blades, and clashed with the green bamboo B-Cloud sword. As the two clashed, Ning Chuan, with his masterful control of sword energy, managed to suppress Dai Mubai, who, in his white tiger Vajra transformation state, had doubled his resistance to abnormal statuses, as well as his attack, defense, and strength, and was 4 soul power levels higher than him, all without using any soul skills. And as the battle continues, the differences in quality and combat experience between the martial spirits become apparent. Although the white tiger can be considered a top-tier beast spirit, however, the quality of the martial soul is definitely not as good as the green bamboo B-Cloud sword, which transfers all the side effects to Tang Rishan. Not to mention his combat experience, Dai Mubai has at most fought against soul masters of the same level. But Ning Chuan has even fought against Contra. Almost every time he had a holiday, he would go to the Dark Fragrance Sword clan to fight those high-level soul masters. Although he always ended up getting beaten up badly, what could he do when he had that treacherous son of Tang Rishan Chapter 22 False Friendship, seeking monthly tickets? Before long, Dai Mubai was defeated one after another. You bastard! In his entire life, Dai Mubai had never fought such a frustrating battle, and at this moment, he was truly enraged. If Ning Chuan relied on his soul rings and soul skills, he wouldn't be dissatisfied at all. But if you use only sword energy to suppress him completely, then the nature of the situation is different. If he loses, he will be too ashamed to face anyone. Most importantly, the opponent's attacks came one after another, giving him no chance to breathe and leaving him no time to even charge up and unleash his second soul skill, White Tiger Blazing Light Wave. He could only rely on the protective golden light of the White Tiger Vajra transformation and his 2 tiger claws for defense. Click! The golden light protecting Dai Mubai could no longer hold, and the silver blades that shot out from his 10 fingers were cleaved in two by Ning Chuan's sword blade, which contained Cyan's sword energy. The sword energy continued its momentum and slammed into Dai Mubai's chest. He was sent flying backward like a cannonball, crashing into the wall of the Rose Hotel with a bang, kicking up a cloud of dust that covered his entire body. Young Master Dai, ×2. The two twins who came with Dai Mubai cried out in concern. Xiao Wu exclaimed excitedly, "Wow, Xiao Liu is amazing. That lecherous tiger is no match for you." As for Tang San, he didn't say anything, but he clenched his hands even tighter, letting his nails dig into his flesh. He was completely unaware of this, his eyes fixed on Ning Chuan. "Cough, cough. Stop, there's no need to fight anymore." Just as Ning Chuan was about to take advantage of Dai Mubai's illness and finish him off, a violent coughing sound came from the dust. He immediately called a halt and withdrew his martial spirit. "What? Are you admitting defeat already?" Ning Chuan hadn't had enough of a fight. He had undergone a lot of targeted training over the years, and he hadn't yet shown his full potential. Now, it seemed that he could only leave that to Zhao Wuji. It was just past noon, and there were many pedestrians on the street. Hearing the commotion, people gradually came to the scene. They all stopped and looked into the Rose Hotel. As for the Rose Hotel's front desk staff and the hotel manager who arrived later, they had already been frightened and hid behind the counter. Dai Mubai glanced at the crowd drawn to the hotel entrance and stepped forward, saying, "I did lose. Although I still have one soul skill I haven't used, judging from your performance just now, you are superior to me in terms of strength, speed, and control over soul power. Your monstrous sword energy completely suppressed me, leaving me no chance to use it. Moreover, I didn't even force out your soul ring. There's no point in continuing the fight." At this moment, Dai Mubai's attitude towards Ning Chuan was similar to his attitude towards Tang San in the original novel. It seemed that he saw hope of defeating Davis in him, so he was very friendly. He gave Ning Chuan a deep look, then glanced at Tang San and Xiao Wu and said, "I see you're both around 12 years old. At that age, to possess soul power of level 25 or even 30 or higher, and to be in Soto City at this time, you must be here to register for Shrek Academy. I think we'll meet soon. Manager, all the losses today, plus their room fees, will be charged to my account, Evil-Eyed White Tiger Dai Mubai." The last sentence was addressed to the hotel manager. After saying that, he waved to the twins and walked out of the Rose Hotel. Watching Dai Mubai's departing figure, Xiao Wu pouted and said, "This guy is really strange. He even brought two twins to book a room. He's obviously not a good person. I think we shouldn't call him Evil-Eyed White Tiger anymore. Let's just call him Evil-Eyed Lustful Tiger. Xiao Liu, even if we go to Shrek Academy in the future, we should stay away from him." I hope you can keep your word. Recalling that in the original story, Xiao Wu eventually became close friends with Dai Mubai, so what was the point of playing the buddy-cozy game? Ning Chuan replied dismissively. Xiao Wu asked, "By the way, when did you break through to the Soul Master level?" All she knew was that Ning Chuan had left the academy twice to hunt for spirit rings, once 5 years ago and once 3 years ago. Not long ago, he obtained his second and third spirit rings with the help of Louise's father. His second spirit ring was obtained from hunting a 1,500-year-old thorn turtle, which granted him the second spirit skill, Sword and Shield. It can instantly release a protective sword and shield, with defensive power comparable to the third soul skill of a defensive soul master of the same level. Moreover, this shield carries a certain amount of sword aura counterattack. If you attack this shield randomly, you will be attacked by the sword aura automatically released by the sword and shield. The third spirit ring originated from an extremely rare spirit beast, a 5,000-year-old shadow rabbit. It also contained the wood attribute. He was granted his third soul skill, Sword Shadow. It can use the sword light of the azure bamboo be cloud sword to conjure 2 identical sword shadows, which can confuse the enemy's vision and attack alongside the main body. Its power is 1/3 that of the main body. Starting from the 3rd ring, 1 more sword shadow can be created with each subsequent ring advancement. Xiao Wu seemed to have endless questions, filled with curiosity about everything about Ning Chuan. So, what are your spirit rings? You'll find out later. Turning to look at Tang San, who was filled with self-doubt because his soul power had been surpassed, he walked to the counter and said, "This hotel should have more than 2 rooms, right? We're not in the kind of relationship you're imagining. Let's book 3 rooms. Anyway, someone else is paying, so why not spend the money?" The hotel manager and front desk staff peeked out from behind the counter. When they saw Ning Chuan, who had defeated Dai Mubai, the hotel manager quickly put on a smile. Of course, you blind fool, hurry up and give the 3 of you 3 rooms." The last sentence was addressed to the front desk staff. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. "Yes, manager." The receptionist quickly agreed and handed Ning Chuan 3 gleaming gold keys. Each key had a door number on it. Ning Chuan only took one of them and went upstairs on his own. Only Xiao Wu, who was standing there stomping her feet in frustration, and Tang San, who looked utterly dejected, were left behind. "Brother Hai, what are you standing there for? Xiao Liu has already gone up." At this moment, Tang San had not yet recovered from the blow of being surpassed by Ning Chuan. It wasn't until Xiao Wu called him that he reacted. Tang San said, "Oh," and hurriedly followed. In that short time, he thought a lot. His greatest asset was not the blue-silver grass, but his hidden weapons. With the improvement of the mysterious heaven skill, his hidden weapon skills had also increased significantly. He could already use many of the hidden weapons from the 100 hidden weapon techniques. If he used hidden weapons, even if Ning Chuan's soul power was higher than his, he would not be his match. Moreover, he also has a second martial soul. However, improving one's soul power is an urgent matter. Otherwise, even if you have hidden weapons, it won't work if the difference in soul power is too great. Chapter 23, First Encounter with the Kitten. Following the door number on the key, Ning Chuan found his room and began his usual cultivation practice. Even when Xiao called him to have dinner together, he ignored her. He didn't go out until the next morning, but he was alone. After lying to that unscrupulous merchant Flander that he was recommended by Yu Xiaogang and getting the crystal plate that could be used to make dragon beard needles for free, he returned to continue his cultivation. For Ning Chuan, anything that would be useful to Tang San, even if he didn't use it himself, could not be given to Tang San. Early on the 3rd day, Xiao Wu knocked on Ning Chuan's door again. The day to register at Shrek Academy has arrived. The 3 left the Rose Hotel, where they had stayed for 2 days, and exited Soto City through the South Gate, heading towards their destination. "Honestly, you've been holed up in your rooms cultivating for 2 days in a row. Aren't you tired or bored?" Once outside Soto City, Xiao Wu couldn't stop complaining. She had thought Ning Chuan had finally come to his senses, but it turned out he was still a blockhead. Tang San was no exception. No one played with him. If you had put a little effort into your cultivation, you would have become a soul master long ago. Ning Chuan suddenly said. Tang San, unusually, shared the same opinion as Ning Chuan. "You're right. With your inconsistent training, you've managed to reach level 29. You're simply wasting your talent." Tang San had regained his confidence, but he still hadn't broken through level 30, which made him feel an urgent need. So, like Ning Chuan, he refused to accompany Xiao Wu for the past 2 days. Naturally, he missed out on the crystal plate. Of course, even if he hadn't missed it, he wouldn't have been able to obtain it anyway. Because Ningxuan has already snatched it away. Do you know where Shrek Academy is? Although she was asking the two of them, Xiao Wu was actually looking at Ningxuan. Just follow this road straight ahead, but don't get your hopes up too high. Recalling the dilapidated state of Shrek Academy in the original story, Ningxuan couldn't help but shake his head. If it weren't for the 8 spider lances and the kitten, even a dog wouldn't have come. Tang San looked at him in surprise. You've been to Shrek Academy. I haven't been there, but I've heard of it, Ningxuan said expressionlessly. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go quickly. Xiao Wu said, trying to climb onto Ningxuan's back, but he dodged her again. Go on your own. Although Ningxuan no longer harbored the same hostility towards Xiao Wu as before, and was no longer so eager to obtain her spirit ring, that was all. If he truly needed a spirit ring, he wouldn't hesitate to act without hesitation. This time, besides plotting to seize the 8 spider spears, he also came to kidnap the kitten. We can't let this rabbit delay our grand plan. How could this be? Tang San looked at Xiao Wu, who was sullen from missing her target, and wanted to carry her on his back. However, thinking of his own appearance, he opened his mouth but didn't say anything. Because he knew that, even if he brought it up himself, Xiao Wu wouldn't agree. On the contrary, Ningxuan's repeated rejections of Xiao Wu left him with mixed feelings. The good thing is that this guy doesn't seem interested in Xiao Wu, but the bad thing is that Xiao Wu seems to be getting too close to Ningxuan. Thinking of this, Tang San couldn't help but feel increasingly jealous and resentful towards Ningxuan. Why did it turn out this way? Having lived 2 lives, he finally had a father and a cherished daughter, 2 joyful things coinciding. And these 2 joys brought him even more happiness. What he received should have been a dreamlike, blissful time, but why did it turn out this way? First, her father left without saying goodbye, leaving only a letter. Then, the girl he cherished ran off to get close to a man he hated. It was me first. I was the one who came first, whether it was bringing Xiao Wu home, promising to protect her, becoming her brother, or liking her. It was all me who came first. Tang San was screaming in his heart. Shrek Academy is less of a soul master academy and more of a village, and a particularly dilapidated one at that. Even more dilapidated than Daihun Village before Ningxuan's new rural construction initiative, it was merely a village with only about 100 households. At the village entrance, a wooden archway stood, above which hung a somewhat tattered plaque bearing the 5 large characters, Shrek Academy. A green head, resembling a humanoid monster, was also displayed. This is considered the gate of Shrek Academy. At this moment, a table is set up in front of the school gate, and an elderly man in his 60s is sitting behind the table. When Ningxuan and his 2 companions arrived, there were already about 100 applicants at the Shrek Academy gate. Many of them were accompanied by their parents. This is Shrek Academy. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Seeing this, Xiao Wu was completely dumbfounded. At this moment, she finally understood why Ningxuan had told them to prepare themselves mentally. Even Tang San's lips twitched violently. Shrek Academy is just too awful, too horrible to look at. If he hadn't believed his teacher wouldn't lie to him, he would have thought this was a diploma mill. Otherwise what? Ningxuan didn't show the slightest surprise. At that moment, his gaze was subtly sweeping around. With just a quick glance, he spotted Dai Mubai standing at the very front of the group. He has now summoned his martial spirit and is intimidating the parents of the applicants who are trying to get their registration fees back. Noticing Ningxuan's gaze, she looked over at him, nodded slightly, and gave him a kind smile. Ningxuan smiled nonchalantly because all of this was temporary. If Ning Chuan tried to make contact with the kitten, it would immediately turn hostile. And all of this was destined long ago. His gaze shifted forward, and a girl with long brown hair caught his attention. The girl looked to be about the same age as Xiao Wu. She was wearing a simple tea-green dress, which gave her a clean and fresh look. She was a bit taller than Tang San, about 1.65 meters tall. Her skin was as white and tender as a peeled egg. Even though Ning Chuan couldn't see her face clearly, it was not hard to tell from her profile that she was a beauty. This must be Ning Rongrong. Ning Chuan quickly guessed the other party's identity. Just as he turned around, trying to find the kitten, he saw that Xiao Wu had started looking at him with a warning gaze. Ning Chuan pretended not to see it and continued to scan behind him, quickly finding the kitten. Her long black hair cascaded over her shoulders, her skin was snow-white, her beautiful face was flawless, her body lines were perfect, her proportions were world-class, her eyes shone with shadows, and most importantly, her pair of eyes seemed to come from a mythical world. Chapter 24 Dai Mubai and Tang Sansheng achieve martial soul resonance. Perhaps it's because Ning Chuan has a biased view of kittens. It was so much better than he had imagined while reading the book. As for those made in animation, that's simply an insult. Ning Chuan sighed inwardly. No wonder he's the second most ferocious character in Douluo Continent. Incidentally, the first one is her older sister, Zhu Jian. Just then, a long-absent system notification sounded in Ning Chuan's mind. Ding! Side effect detected. The person the host admires has developed a martial soul resonance with another person. Please bind the recipient. Bind Tang San. Without a second thought, Ning Chuan chose to align himself with Tang San. It was like having a good opportunity coveted by Dai Mubai, so of course he would support Tang San. 2 martial souls were detected in the bound object. 1. Blue silver grass. 2. Clear sky hammer. Please select blue silver grass. Choosing the clear sky hammer is definitely out of the question. He's only here to annoy Tang San, not to strengthen them and annoy himself. Binding successful. Currently suffering from side effects. Tang San. Side effect. Soul resonance. Greatly increases Dai Mubai's affection for you. In severe cases, it may even cause Dai Mubai to fall in love with you. Hehe, Brother Tongzi is really awesome. Ning Chuan chuckled inwardly. With this, the only thing binding the little kitten was that so-called marriage contract. She would no longer be affected by her martial soul. It's just that you, Xia Agang, wasn't there. Otherwise, we would have definitely tried to match them up. It's a pity that Xia Agang missed out on such a great opportunity. After all, in the original novel, it's not necessarily true that Zhu Zhuqing loved Dai Mubai, a frequent visitor to brothels, that she loved him. Rather, it was more about her submission to fate and the effects of the fusion of her martial souls. At the same time, as if sensing something, the resonance between Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing's martial souls disappeared. Tang San's blue silver grass martial soul and Dai Mubai's white tiger martial soul began to attract each other. All 3 showed expressions of surprise. Seeing Ning Chuan looking at beautiful women again, Xiao Wu couldn't hold back any longer and angrily stomped on him, but Ning Chuan instinctively dodged it. Is there something you need? Ning Chuan asked calmly. Seeing Ning Chuan's expression, Xiao Wu felt so frustrated she wanted to vomit blood. Although Ning Chuan usually acts like this, why is it that he can look at other beautiful women as if it's perfectly normal, but never looks at himself with the same gaze? She has a beautiful face, a great figure, a mouth with red lips and jade teeth, eyes with delicate eyebrows, skin as white as snow, and long, slender legs. Xiao Wu was furious, thinking, where am I less attractive than others? But after seeing Zhu Zhuking's wicked-looking breasts, she weakly added in her mind, "They're not exactly small either, are they?" Standing behind Xiao Wu, Tang San had no idea what Xiao Wu was thinking. But seeing the two of them like this, he was overjoyed. That's fine. If Ning Chuan continues like this, Xiao Wu will eventually be completely disappointed in him. With this in mind, Tang San regained his confidence. Registration is still ongoing, but many people have been eliminated because they are over 13 years old or their soul power is not above level 20. Everyone then learned about Shrek Academy's admission rules. In just a few minutes, the team, which originally had over 100 people, was reduced to only a dozen or so. Ning Rongrong quickly completed her registration. Ningxuan's turn. Same as always, registration fee is 10 gold soul coins. Extend your right hand so I can test your bone age. The old man in charge of registration didn't even glance at Ning Chuan, speaking lazily. Ning Chuan gently tossed 10 pre-prepared gold soul coins into the wooden box. Then he reached out his hand. The old man squeezed Ning Chuan's hand, then looked at him with some surprise and nodded, saying, "Age is about 12 years and 3 months. Not bad, just right." "Ning Chuan, are you actually younger than me?" Xiao Wu knew that Ning Chuan didn't like being called Little Six in public, so she called him by his name. However, Ning Chuan's age was actually younger than her human form age, which surprised her. Does that mean they'll be in a relationship where the woman is older than the man? Thinking of this, Xiao Wu couldn't help but blush. "Summon your martial spirit." Ning Chuan nodded and, at the old man's prompting, summoned his martial soul. A cyan light rose up, and Ning Chuan held a 3-foot-long emerald green sword in his hand. He still hadn't summoned a spirit ring. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. "Where are your spirit rings?" The old man was Lai Yusong, a teacher at Shrek Academy. His martial soul was the dragon pattern staff, and his spirit rings were white, yellow, purple, purple, and black. He was a level 63 power attack type battle soul emperor. Seeing that Ning Chuan had not summoned any spirit rings, he couldn't help but show a puzzled expression. Isn't the first hurdle just about being under 13 years old and having a soul power of level 21 or higher? Is my current soul power insufficient to pass the hurdle? Ning Chuan didn't answer, but asked a question in return. "Of course you passed." If an ordinary examinee had said this to him, Lai Yusong would have definitely given him a hard time and taught him what it meant to respect his teacher. However, judging from Ning Chuan's soul power fluctuations, it was clear that he had already exceeded level 30. At 12 years and 3 months old, such a little monster has come to our doorstep. If we let him escape, Flanders will skin him alive. Next, Xiao Wu and Tang San also signed up. One had a beast spirit and the other had blue-silver grass. Both had 200-year spirit rings and showed remarkable talent, so they passed the test smoothly. At this moment, Dai Mubai, who had just seen the three of them pass the registration, walked over and smiled at Ning Chuan. "I knew you would pass smoothly, and the subsequent exams will definitely not be a problem." As he spoke, his eyes glanced at Zhu Zhuking behind Ning Chuan, a wolfish glint in them. Although he didn't recognize Zhu Zhuking, she was his favorite type in terms of both figure and appearance. Then, he looked at Tang San with a puzzled expression on his face. He had vaguely sensed someone here earlier, whose aura was very similar to his own, creating a sense of mutual support. Perhaps the two of them can join forces to unleash a martial soul fusion technique. At first, he thought it was the beautiful woman from before. I never expected it to be this dark-skinned guy. Could it be that I'm sensing something wrong? The thought of fusing with an ugly spirit, like Tang, San's made Dai Mubai shudder. Good heavens, if he were to fuse his spirit with such an ugly, rough man, he might as well be dead. The question is, why does he suddenly find the other person less annoying? Tang San felt the same way. He didn't know why, but the two of them didn't have this feeling when they met last time. This time, the feeling suddenly came. This made him look puzzled. Could it be the effect of having two martial souls? I hadn't released the blue-silver grass martial soul before, so it wasn't obvious then. Chapter 25, The Unofficial Academy. Lai Yusong asked with some surprise, "What, you know Mubai?" "Yes, I saw him in Soto City a couple of days ago." In front of Zhu Zhuking, Dai Mubai did not mention that he had lost to Ning Chuan, otherwise it would be against his personal image. Xiao Wu said irritably, "It's not just that I've seen it, I was clearly beaten up by Ning Chuan." Dai Mubai frowned, feeling extremely annoyed. However, considering that he might need to rely on Ning Chuan, who was with them, to defeat Davis in the future, he managed to suppress his anger. Lai Yusong was even more surprised. Even Mubai is no match for him. He really is a little monster. Mubai, take them in. As he spoke, he continued to register people who were at the back of the line. Yes. Led by Dai Mubai, Ning Chuan and the other two followed him into Shrek Academy, which was the village. Ning Rongrong was with them, and Zhu Zhuking, who had already registered, followed closely behind. They hadn't gone far when Dai Mubai led them to an open space of about 500 square meters, surrounded by wooden houses. The candidates who passed the preliminary test are in front of you. This is our Shrek Academy's playground. Dai Mubai introduced to everyone. It's really quite chilling. It's the first time I've ever seen a completely bare playground without a single blade of grass. Xiao Wu didn't hold back in her criticism. Dai Mubai glanced at Zhu Zhuking, who had followed behind, and said with some pride, "Don't look down on our academy's environment. Our teaching staff is incredibly strong. The dean and vice dean are both soul saints, and one of the other 3 teachers is a food-type soul saint, while the other 2 are soul emperors." Upon hearing that the highest level academy could reach was soul saint, Xiao Wu inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief, but then pouted and asked, "If the academy's teachers are so powerful, why is the academy located in a place like this?" Seemingly wanting to impress Zhu Zhuking, Dai Mubai patiently explained, "This is because our academy has a strict admission system. All students who join the academy must go through 4 trials. The first trial, which you just went through, eliminates candidates who are over 13 years old or whose soul power is below level 20. The second test mainly examines the martial soul. Only soul masters whose martial soul has sufficient development potential and whose cultivation direction is correct can enter the third test. Of course, if the martial soul is extremely special, they can also be admitted. One of our academy's guys named Oscar was selected because he has an extremely rare carnivorous food martial soul called sausage. The third test is to examine the candidate's ability to apply their own martial spirit. As he said this, Dai Mubai glanced at Ning Chuan with lingering fear. This guy's application of martial spirit has reached an unbelievable level. He had never seen anyone as powerful as him, a soul master who could casually unleash sword energy without relying on soul rings. It's like Xiao Dao pulled his butt and opened his eyes. What about the 4th level? It was Ning Rongrong who spoke, and Dai Mubai's words successfully piqued his interest. Dai Mubai said, "The 4th test is to examine practical experience." As he spoke, he looked at Ning Chuan again. Everyone basically knew that Dai Mubai had suffered a great loss at Ning Chuan's hands. While they found it somewhat amusing, their expressions also became serious. Xiao Wu couldn't help but ask, "With such strict conditions, are you picking wives?" Could it be that you and that food science major are the only two people in this academy? 3. Dai Mubai held up 3 fingers. In the 20 years since our Shrek Academy was founded, we have enrolled a total of 62 students, averaging a little over 2 per year. But only 14 of them have actually graduated. After leaving the academy, all 14 of them have achieved great success. The most outstanding one among them has now become the youngest elder in the Spirit Hall, second only to the Pope in status. The rest who did not graduate died before the age of 20, unable to complete the 40-level cultivation and hunting of spirit beasts. Our dean said, "Better to have fewer than to have inferior ones. If you are not at 41, don't go out and embarrass him." When he said this, Dai Mubai's tone was filled with undisguised pride. His words undoubtedly fooled the examinees, including Tang San. But then, Ning Chuan asked an untimely question. "I have a question." "Go ahead." Dai Mubai still valued Ning Chuan highly. After all, Ning Chuan's strength and talent were undeniable. He might have to rely on his opponent to defeat Davis in the future. But Ning Chuan's next words embarrassed him. "You just said that Shrek Academy's enrollment age is no more than 13, and the academy has been established for 20 years. That means the senior who became an elder of the Spirit Hall Academy is at most 32 years old. As far as I know, among the elders of the Spirit Hall, apart from Ning Fengzhai, the sect master of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, who became an honorary elder of the Spirit Hall because he is the #1 support-type spirit master in the world and the sect master of the 3 upper sects. Every other one of them is a title Douluo. Who is a title Douluo who is only 32 years old?" "Oh, this." Upon hearing this, everyone realized what was going on. After all, becoming a soul master at the age of 12 was already a rare talent in the world. Becoming a title Douluo at the age of 32 is an extremely difficult task. The latest novels are first published on 69 Shuba. Dai Mubai was also stumped by the question. He subconsciously looked at the test teacher in charge of the second round of assessment. "Teacher Liu Kibin, do you remember that senior's name?" Upon hearing this, the other test takers also turned their heads with curious glances. Liu Kibin, who was testing the students, blushed when asked the question. "What kind of 32-year-old title Douluo is this? It's all Flanders' fault. He's just bragging without thinking." Finally, he came up with a compromise. He coughed lightly and said, "The identities of all the elders of the Spirit Hall are extremely secretive. Although we are his teachers, we cannot reveal it. You will know for yourselves when you meet him in the future." Hearing this, many people were still suspicious. Seeing that they were about to be exposed, Liu Kibin hurriedly said, "Mu Bai, I see that many of these people have a soul power level of over 25. Test them and then take them directly to the 4th level." As he spoke, he picked up a white crystal ball from the table and tossed it to Dai Mubai. The test crystal balls are different colors depending on their level. Su Yuntao's blue crystal ball was the lowest level and could only test up to level 10. This white crystal ball can test up to level 30, but if it exceeds that level, it will burst. "Yes, Professor Liu Kibin." Dai Mubai took the crystal ball and handed it to Ning Chuan. "Let's test them first." Ning Chuan shook his head. "That's true." Dai Mubai knew Ning Chuan's soul power level, so he handed it to Tang San, who tested it and then passed it to Xiao Wu, who then passed it to Ning Rongrong, who in turn passed it to Zhu Zhuqing.